Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Miller. Every week, I chat with fascinating people from all walks of life in order to bring you knowledge, inspiration, and insight. If you enjoy the show, you can support it by subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with a friend. This is the Jeremy Miller Podcast. Kallup, dude. 50K yesterday.
50K. Are we in it?
Yeah, we're in it.
All right.
We're live.
Let's do it.
Dude, have you ever done anything like that before? Has anybody ever texted you and been like, hey, tomorrow you're going to run 50 kilometers, 31 miles?
I don't think so. I think it's the first time. So, I couldn't say no. I'm always like big on saying yes to epic things and opportunities. And, just meeting new people, getting out of your comfort zone, and just doing epic shit. I think it's really important. It's been like something that I live by.
Heck yeah, dude. I think you might have outperformed me yesterday. I feel like I was dragging at the end, and you were just cruising like it was nothing.
I think we're carrying one another at different spots. There's a few times I was like, well, I about stopped when Matt did. And I looked over at you and you're like, no, let's finish it, bro. I was like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah, I wish Matt would have finished it with us.
Me too.
Whatever.
Me too.
And this was what, 6 days after you did rim to rim to rim?
Yeah, 8 days after rim to rim to rim. I did my goal marathon March 16th. 30 days after that, so I ran 241 at Asheville March 16th, 247 at Boston. 30 days after that marathon, and then 18 days after Boston, rim to rim to rim, 16 hours. We were taking our time, just chilling, getting pictures and videos and stuff, but 16 hours and some change. And then 7 days after that, we're in Austin, Texas doing a 50K.
How are the legs feeling after all that?
Feel good, man. Honestly, I could get up and go. I mean, if we needed to do a 10-piece or something today,
nice.
We could have done it.
I love that. Yeah. Dude. I'm so excited for this episode. I feel like I never want to pick favorite episodes because everybody has their own, everybody's special, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's got their own thing. And I love all of them. But this one, I've been real excited for a while because I think it's going to inspire so many people. I know it's going to inspire me, obviously, because it already has, just knowing you already has. And so I'm so excited to share this with people and tell your story and get it out there and hopefully bring some awareness for this nonprofit you're starting and everything else you're doing. So I'm just glad to have you here in Austin, Texas.
Me too, man. I'm excited about it. And it's always a blessing for me to be able to share just the way that God's worked in my life and how far that I've come over the last 7 years, and running's been a big part of that. And so, yeah, let's get into it, man.
Dude, I don't even know where to start because your story is so crazy. Maybe take us back to did you grow up in Cherokee, North Carolina?
I did. Yeah.
Okay, maybe take us back to childhood. Cherokee, North Carolina. Young Kallup McCoy.
Man, young Kallup McCoy. So growing up on the Kallup boundary, which is like a reservation, it's like we own our land. So a lot of the government took all the Native Americans' lands, right, and then put them on reservations. So the thing about what's unique about our community is we bought our land. So we had a group of people that paid money, and we bought the Kallup boundary that we now live on. So we're a sovereign nation, which means we make our own rules, regulations, laws, things like that. But, growing up in Cherokee, man, it's a small community. I think right now it's less than 10,000 people. And, it's everybody knows everybody, You have to be careful with who you date because you might be kin to them. It's that type of community.
Oh, man.
But... it's a very proud community, very, very resilient community. Just to think back of all the things that we've had to overcome to still be here. And with that, it's very rich in culture and our traditions and our dances, our songs, different things that we do, like artists, the artwork is very unique. One of the things that I never was. I didn't grow up in that type of household though. Like we just didn't practice those things. We didn't practice our language. And I think that kind of led to some identity issues. Like I didn't know who I was as a Cherokee person. And I went to a predominantly white school. So I lived in Cherokee, but I went to school off the reservation, off the boundary. And I was constantly trying to figure out who I was. I was too dark skinned to fit in with the white boys, but I was also going to that white school, I never fit in with, my community. And so it led to a lot of fights with people on the reservation, people that went to Cherokee. I went to Swain County High School. And like family wise though, I grew up with my mom and my dad and my sister. My sister's 7 years older than me. And hopefully I won't forget this part, but she passed away in 2019. And I'll share a little bit more about that.
I saw that in a post not long ago.
Yeah. She passed away March 3rd, 2019 to a fentanyl overdose. So, but like there was a lot of trauma growing up in the house. My mom and dad, they were fighting their own demons. Domestic violence was in the house. A lot of drinking, drug dealing, partying. But also too, like there was like this dichotomy, like you had all these different traumatic experiences, but then you also had like hard work. My dad had he was a carpenter. He was a builder, built all kinds of condos and hotels and houses. And the house that I live in now was the last house that he built.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's very special.
That's cool.
He had that entrepreneurial spirit. He was a hustler.
I can see where you get it from.
Yeah. A lot of times it was he was hustling the wrong things, drug dealing and everything. But I think he was doing that because that's what he's seen, and to have extra money and stuff for us, so we didn't go without. So I seen all these things happening in the home that were traumatic, but I also seen the hard work, the dedication, the entrepreneurial spirit. The love that my mom and dad showed us. And, like I said, they had a toxic relationship and whatnot, but I think I gravitated towards the easy road, right? The things the glamorous lifestyle of the drug deal and the partying and also like that helped me to be comfortable in my own skin. And so when I was 11 years old, I was getting migraine headaches. My mom takes me to a neurologist and they prescribed me a narcotic. So at 11 years old, I become addicted, like really quick. And now looking back on it, I think it was the drugs helped me to live in the here and now. I didn't think about the future. I didn't think about the past. I didn't think about all the things that I was experiencing and seeing in the home. And it just helped me be comfortable in my own skin. And also, like, during that time, my sister's, she's getting into drugs, she's partying, things like that. So that's another example that I was following. And I think that we are a product of our environment, but it's more so about, like, we're a product of our decisions and our choices.
Right.
But until you know better, like, you don't know how to do better, right? And so, during that time, man, there was a lot of traumatic stuff happening, like, when I was like 8 years old, my mom and dad got in this huge fight. And I remember my sister and I were outside and we were making paper airplanes. And we were just throwing these paper airplanes. It was late at night. It was after dark. And I could hear my mom and dad screaming and hollering, and it was getting physical. It's a very vivid memory. But we're outside and we're throwing these paper airplanes. And my mom comes out of the house. She scoops us up. She's never smoked. I've never seen my mom smoke except this one occasion. And I remember her smoking a cigarette after she picked us up and left the house. And the next day, we pack all of our stuff and we leave Cherokee, North Carolina, and we move across the country. Mm-hmm. So in one day, like, we pick up everything I've ever known and go across the country. And I've always...
Did you know why? It was just like,
no.
we're just leaving.
It's just never explained to me. It's never explained to me. I've always had a good relationship. Like, I don't think, depending on if you ask my mom, she might give you a different answer, but I always had a good relationship with both of them. Like, I wasn't like a mama's boy or a dad's. I was kind of like in the middle, you know. I had a great relationship with both of them. But, like, leaving all my family, my uncles, my cousins, leaving my comfort zone, moving us to a different place. So we went to California for a little bit. I think around the Lake Tahoe area. I don't even really remember that well. It was just so like, I think I have a block during that time because it was traumatic for me.
How old were you during
like
that time?
8 years old, 8 or 9. And then we ended up settling in Tucson, Arizona. So lived there for like 3 or 4 months. Started getting really homesick, and actually I was chewing on a Stretch Armstrong. Do you ever remember those things?
I remember seeing pictures of them.
Yeah.
Like I've seen them like in throwback things. I never had one though.
Well, you're 26. So I'm a little older than you, but so I had this toy like a Stretch Armstrong, and I remember chewing on it, and I got super sick, like deadly sick from the stuff that's in the inside of it, and I was like puking and everything for days, and my dad ends up coming to get me. Around that time too, my elementary school that I was going to in Arizona got shot up in a drive-by.
Oh, jeez.
So it's just not a good neighborhood to be in.
Yeah.
And I had all this other stuff going on too. So my dad was like, I'm going to go pick him up and bring him back home. And I remember he actually, I don't get to tell this story a lot, and I know we're not in any rush, so I'm just going to hash it out.
I want to hear all of them.
Yeah, man. Okay. So, 27, my dad drove from Cherokee, North Carolina to Tucson, Arizona in under 27 hours. He got 5 speeding tickets on the way. Ended up losing his license because I was so sick and just ready to get home. So he flew out there to get me. And that's the type of relationship that we had. We were really close. Picks me up, brings me back home. Funny part about that story is while he was on his way out, he got stopped in Arkansas, and was running like 130. Jeez. State trooper's like, why are you driving this fast? And he was like, my son's really sick. I got to get to Arizona, pick him up. And so he lets him go with a warning.
Wow.
He's like, slow down, go pick up your boy. So picks me up. We're heading back from Arizona, and we're coming through Arkansas, and I was asleep in the back seat. My dad had a 96 Mustang GT. Loved that thing. And we're coming back through the same area. Get stopped again. My dad's running 120 this time, just because he was a wild ass. He just loves driving fast. And same state trooper, almost 1 mile away from where he got stopped the first time. And the trooper walks up, and I remember waking up. I was in the back seat asleep while my dad's riding 120 down the road. He comes up to my dad's window, and he was like, he's like, you again? And
what are the chances of that?
Yeah, I know, right? He looks in the back seat, and my dad's like, yeah, I picked up my boy. We're on our way back home. So anyways, he writes my dad a ticket this time.
Dang.
My dad loses his license. But anyhow, we get back home, and I settle in, live with my dad until my mom moves back home. And then that's when the thing happened with getting migraine headaches and stuff. And I remember when that happened, though, I was sneaking in my mom's medicine cabinet, or sneaking in her underwear drawer. That's where she was keeping my medication. And it was a nasal spray called Stadol. And I was taking this, I was abusing it. Because like I said, it gave me that feeling. It gave me that escape. It helped me be comfortable.
11 years old, too.
11 years old, man, hooked. And she started wondering why I was running out of medicine so fast. So I was abusing it, but then also, too, my sister was stealing my medication, and she was doing the same thing. She was getting high off of it. And so that goes on for a time, and eventually I find sports. In middle school, I started running cross country. During that time, I was playing basketball, like community league basketball and stuff. But I find cross country my 7th grade year, start running, completely suck. I was the second worst runner on the team. I remember I still run in the same area. Like it's called Deep Creek. right outside of Bryson City. It's where we go practice and stuff. But one of our first practices, we were doing hill repeats, and I fall down, skin both elbows up, trying to catch myself, and I started crying. I'm like 7 years old, like cried in front of all my other teammates and everything, and I wanted to quit. And I remember telling my mom, I was like, I hate this. I do not want to keep running. And she wouldn't let me quit. And she was like, no, you're going to finish the season, and then if you don't want to run next year, you don't have to. So I do that, finish the season. Like I said, we had a really good cross-country team growing up too. And finished the season. I think we had like 9 or 10 runners, and I was the second to last, slowest on the team. And next year, I come back and I run again. And I end up winning a conference. Get beat one time, first race of the season. And during that time, like, my sister always loved to watch me run. And I think that's one of the things that I enjoy about it so much, because I feel close to my sister. I can like envision her running all over the cross country course and screaming at the top of her lungs. Man, she was one of those embarrassing sisters, like where she was just like so much louder than everybody else, and she was screaming and like, "Don't you let him beat you!" Like he's right, like like one of those people. And so I think that's one of the things that I really enjoy about it. Like anytime I go out to compete, I think about that moment. Dang. And it takes me back there, and I love that, So, I go into high school, and I stop running cross country, and I start playing football. And I was a pretty good athlete. I mean, I was decent at everything that I did, and start playing JV football, keep playing basketball, and I keep running track. And so I do that through my high school years. But during that time, I started getting mixed in the party scene a little bit more. And like I said, I see it happening around me so much, and my uncles and my dad and everything else. I think it's normal, right? Normalize that lifestyle. And my 11th grade year, though, my junior year playing football, I remember it was like first or second game of the season, and we're on our way to Asheville to play a team outside of Asheville. And one of my buddies pulls out a bag of meth. So we're 15, 16, 17 years old. Pulls out a bag of meth, and he was like, we're going to put this in our water bottles, and we're going to play like Superman tonight. And I was like, I didn't even ask questions, nothing. Like, let's go.
Oh, my gosh.
So we put it in our water bottle, mix it up, and that's what happened. Like, I mean, I've never had that much energy, and I was just like completely glued in. I remember actually getting an interception that night and almost running it back for a touchdown. I was just like jacked up, hyped up, and I'm like, this is the best thing ever. Like, and I continued doing that like before football games.
Did you know what meth was?
No,
back then?
just like his dad was making it.
Oh,
his dad was one of the dealers in the community, and we would go up to his house and party. And so we're up there like again, man, I'm just getting so consumed with this lifestyle. Yeah. We'd go up, man, and we're like just partying, having sex, like just wilding out, man, 16 years old. And like the 5th or 6th game of the season, we're going to go play a big conference team. Like it's the matchup of the state. Actually, I remember Julius Peppers played for the Carolina Panthers. He picked this game as like the game of the week.
Oh damn!
So it's a huge game, man. And so same thing. I put the meth in my water bottle, and I start using a little bit more, right? Because what I was using wasn't working as well. Right, I start building this tolerance.
Gives you interceptions.
Yeah,
why not?
Flying all over the field, just caution to the wind,
Jeez.
And I remember before that game, I forgot my helmet. It's a away game. I leave my helmet.
Oh no!
And I'm just like jacked up on meth because we took it before we even left the field house. So I'm just not even thinking straight, right? So we get out there and we're going through warm-ups and like before kickoff even starts. And I remember standing out there and I was telling one of my buddies who didn't even know what we were doing. I didn't tell him. And I was like, man, I feel like my heart's about to explode. And so I'm standing there and you could see my shoulder pads just like hopping, it's like expanding and everything. And I'm sweating so bad, man. And I feel like I'm about to overdose on this. And so finally I calm down. We play the game. We win, whatever. And, just looking back on it, like you would think that would have been a sign to like something's going on here. So I continue to do that, man. And I remember a couple weeks later, I go to take the SAT. I've been partying all night and been doing meth, and I go to take the SAT on Saturday morning, and I'll start falling asleep, meth wearing off. And I'll fall asleep and sleep pretty much through the entire SAT. Bomb the SAT.
Oh, man.
I probably wouldn't have scored that high anyways. I mean, but that didn't help anything.
You think the meth, I mean, it could give you some, it's like caffeine's like is crazy. I mean, I've never done meth, but it's got, they're just like laser focused on stuff.
Yeah, you are.
So,
you are. But also too, I mean, you can get you like just, it can also do the opposite and get you like, you can't focus on anything,
Is it hard to overdose, or is it pretty easy to overdose? Because, I mean, if you're just, like, dumping it in a water bottle, like, I'm guessing you were measuring it.
No.
You're 16, 17 years old.
We're just, like, putting the shards in the water bottle, just like, that looks like enough, throw it in there and just.
Oh, my God.
That's how we were doing it. And so, but after I took that SAT, I bombed that, got my score back. I was like, I kind of had that moment where I was like, okay, I need to back off of this. And then I started dating my oldest son's mom at the same time, right around the same time. And so she come from a good family. Her dad was a pastor and stuff. And so I think that relationship kind of kept me out of trouble for a little while. But my senior year, after my second semester of my senior year, I failed a class, and they kicked me off the basketball team and the track team. And during that time, I had an opportunity to go to the next level and play football or run track. And so those offers were off the table once I failed that class. And I remember that day they called me out of basketball practice. And again, it goes back to identity. Something that was fleeting for me. I was putting my identity in all these things that were not going to be sustainable. It's like it's changing, right? And I remember them telling me, like, you're not going to be able to play basketball. And I left that day, and I was so disappointed, and I was thinking to myself, like, who am I? Like, if I don't have these things, if I'm not an athlete, then who am I? And I never really dug in and like did the internal work to figure out what that looked like. And so I just keep on going through life, just skating by and never asking these questions or anything, and realizing that I was in desperate need of help, but I never raised my hand or asked for it. Like, and I think that's why mentorship and having people in your life to kind of have oversight, like kind of see how, like, your everyday life, your relationships, the way that you show up, and they can offer some wisdom and feedback on those things is so important. And I never really had that. My dad and I never really opened up to him like that or sought that out, and he never really kind of challenged me in those ways. And I think too, like, going back to, like, he was born in 1947, like old school. You just didn't talk about emotions, like emotional health. Obviously, is not something that's been popular until here recently. And so, like, giving names to emotions and feelings was definitely not something that we talked about. My mom either. My mom came from a really traumatic background. She watched my grandmother get murdered in front of her. Jeez. My grandpa, my mom's dad, got murdered when she was 13. So she lost both parents to murder when she was 9 and 13.
Holy cow.
And so, like, we just didn't talk about those things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And now looking back, like, that was detrimental to my emotional health. That really played a role in who I was becoming and the path that I was going down. And just the environment that I was growing up in. So it was like this perfect storm that was brewing and stuff, and me not having an identity.
Sometimes it's easier to just, like, shut it all out and ignore it. Pretend like it doesn't exist.
I mean, that is the easy road. Like, because it's hard to kind of ask yourself the tough questions. It's hard to reach out and to ask for help. It takes courage, man, to ask for help.
Yeah.
You know? And I just didn't have that modeled for me either. And so I remember barely graduating high school. I have my first son, Hayden, who's about to be 19 next month.
So you were 18 when you had him?
18. Just turned 18. Yeah, I think that's right.
Dude, I could not imagine when I was 18.
Well, I was an idiot.
Having another human to take care of. I couldn't even take care of myself.
I know, right? I mean, we used to talk about Dominic, like he's 18 years old. Like I was an idiot when I was 18. I'm still that way some days, but
I would trust Dominic. That guy. He's got the soul of like a 40-year-old.
He does.
Dominic
He does,
Schluter
man.
from The Running Effect.
Yeah, shout out Dom. But yeah, man, it was a really, really challenging time, and I feel like I didn't have that moment. Like a lot of addicts, man, a lot of people that struggle with addiction, and there's low bottom addicts and there's high bottom addicts. Like, and I was one of those low bottom people.
What do you mean by that?
Like, I had to have so much pain and trauma inflicted, like self-inflicted, from the way that I was living life before I could turn around. Like some people can just have something a little scary happen and they're like, whoa, I need to stop this. Like somebody that struggles with alcoholism might go out and, might drive after they've been drinking. And then they wake up next morning and they're like, okay, I need to stop this.
Right.
Or they miss work or something. You know what I'm saying? Like something's not as traumatic, not as big. But for me, like I had to go down this really, really dark road, and things progress. Like I was saying, I have my first son, and the relationship with myself and his mom didn't work out. And around the same time, while she's pregnant, I start running around on her with another woman, and I get her pregnant. So I have two sons almost a year to the day apart.
With two different
women.
Wow.
2 different women. And just treated them like crap, man. I didn't know how to love myself, let alone somebody else, and the saying goes, hurt people. And I was hurting, and I didn't have the ability to be a dad and to love anybody else because of my addiction, because of my trauma, because of the things that I was afraid to face and not aware, and a lot of times just had blind spots and not aware that I needed to change in these areas, And so my son Kallup, who you met, me and his mom are in a relationship for a short time after he's born, and we ended up splitting up when he's like maybe a year and a half. Like we were kind of in and out, very toxic relationship. And so we split up, and I'm not going to sit here and tell her story, but she has her own struggles as well with addiction and stuff. But so I remember just not being able to hold down a job because of my addiction. And it's something that I'm proud of now, because I went from unemployable, and all the things I experienced to where I am today, which we'll get into in a few minutes. But I just couldn't hold down a job. I just couldn't show up, because of my addiction. I was constantly trying to figure out how to fuel my habit. I was constantly sick, from withdrawal. I have this chemical dependency that's holding me hostage and keeping me prisoner. And so that's what I'm facing during this time when I'm early 20s and everything. And I get mixed into everything, Jeremy. Like everything you can pretty much think of. Snorting cocaine, snorting pills, smoking crack, doing meth, like everything. Ecstasy, all the party drugs, everything. And this goes on for several years. And I remember I'm like 23 years old, and my dad is diagnosed with terminal cancer. February of 2011 or something. And I remember I was in the car. I was driving to Waynesville, and I was just very vivid. Like it's so crazy because I can vividly remember a lot of like traumatic moments in my life. But then there's also blocks that I just can't recall. But I remember getting that call, and my dad had pancreatic cancer and stage 4.
It's like one of the worst ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're all bad, but
For sure. Like, I mean, like stage 4 pancreatic, like
yeah,
it's basically a death sentence. You know, you're not going to come back from that. A lot of people don't. And so they gave him 6 months to live, and I was snorting pills at that time, and that just wasn't helping me to numb the pain anymore. And so I needed to find something harder. I needed to find something stronger, and find something that could just help me to just numb that news, you know, numb that pain. And so I remember girl I was dating at the time, got her to get some syringes, and I went to the bathroom. My son's 5 years old. He happens to be staying with me at that time. And I lock myself in the bathroom, and I sit on the toilet, and I've got this pill pulled up in the syringe. And you always, when you struggle with addiction, you will put these guardrails up, you know, and you'll lie to the addiction is lying to you. Like, you've got this under control as long as you don't do this or this. And so that began negotiating with myself. And so that was the thing that I always told myself, like, as long as I don't shoot up, then everything's okay, you know, and I've got this under control. And here I am at this crossroads moment, and I'm sitting in the bathroom, and I'm looking at this syringe, and I'm realizing that I'm becoming the thing that I said I was never going to become. And the amount of despair, and I was angry, man. I was angry at myself, because looking back at all the opportunities, all the talent, all the ability that I had, and now here I am locked in this bathroom, man, shooting up, and I can't hold down a job. I'm not a father, you know. I'm just very absent in all the relationships in my life. I've let all my family down. And so, like, this became my reality, and this was the new identity that I was taking. And stare at this syringe, man, it seemed like forever. And my son starts knocking at the door, and I feel like these are just these moments, man, where I feel like God was trying to intervene in my life and reach out to me, like, through my son knocking on that door. Like, I could have just laid it down and, like, hey, I need help. I called my mom, called my dad, called somebody. Like, I'm locked in a bathroom getting ready to shoot up. Like, my life is completely out of control. And I didn't do that, man. You know, that was too tough for me. Like, but again, low bottom. You know, I had to go through that to get to where I am. And so I shoot up. I put the towel down at the bottom of the door because my son's trying to look under the door. And I put the towel down, and I shoot up. And I remember thinking to myself, like, there's no coming back. Like, this is your life. And that was the reality that I was facing. So,
jeez, dude, that's powerful.
Yeah,
that's tough. Like, man, I don't even know what to say. It's like that's there. I don't know if there's really a worse, like, situation to be in, where you're, like, so aware of, like, what's going on, and you know you shouldn't do it, but, like, the like hooks of that addiction and that drug and that shit is just like, there's from people I've talked to that have gone through addiction, it's like they know they don't want to do it, they know they don't need it, but it's like it's like this demon that is, like, controlling you basically, and you just can't, like, it seems like no matter how strong you are, like, everything in your power is just not enough. And that's, like, I don't know, I don't think I wish that on anybody. No, man, it's just like the saying, a moth to a flame. I mean, you know, you just keep going back to it, knowing that it's destroying you, but change is hard. No matter how if it's good change, bad change, like, whatever, you know, change is tough. And so I just wasn't there yet, you know. And I remember after that moment, I was like, I moved in with my dad, right? I moved in with my dad. I was living at a trailer below his house. And I'm thinking to myself, like, my dad needs me.
I got to take care of him. But one of the things that I don't share a lot, and my wife, who's right off camera right here, Caitlin, she's like, why don't you talk about you and your dad's relationship a little bit more? So I want to try to articulate that best as I can. My dad and I used together. We partied together. And like during that time after graduating high school, I hope people don't look at my dad and it really doesn't matter what they think. I know that he loved me and he was doing the best that he could and he knew how. Although it was very toxic. My dad always had my back, man, and he would be there for me in a moment. But we used together. Like after I graduated high school, I'd party with him, drink with him, snort cocaine, stay up all night. And now looking back, like that's what he done with his dad back in the 70s. And because he was a functioning addict, like he had this business, employed almost 30 people, built all these fine homes. I guess he thought like, I can do it, so it's not going to bother him.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me, so I think he'll be okay. And that's probably what his thinking was. And so that's, I did a lot of that with him. And when I moved in with him, though, when he got cancer, he was getting pain medication, for his chemo treatments and everything, for everything he was going through. But I would kind of like make him feel bad if he didn't give me pain pills. Like I'd be talking about how sick I was and blah, 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 this and that. And he would see me coming in and out. And around the same time, I started catching charges. Like I'm starting to get a, criminal record here as long as my arm. Just stealing, obtaining property by false pretenses. I'm getting drug charges left and right. And I think that his thinking was like, well, if I give it to him, he won't be out like running the streets, doing what he's doing. And so, I mean, it's just fueling the monster, and around that time, my addiction is so bad. Like it's so consuming. I was taking multiple Oxycontin 30s, Roxys we call them. Just multiple of these, like to even feel anything. And so I would steal his pain medication, and I'd wait for him to go to the bathroom a lot of times or leave the house or something. But I remember very, very vividly, like he would go into his bathroom to get sick from the chemo, and I would be upstairs, and I would hear him get up and go to the bathroom. And I'd just be laying up there, like withdrawing, sweating, diarrhea, everything that comes along with withdrawals. It's like the flu times 1,000. And I remember I'd be laying in the bedroom, and I'd wait for him to go into the bathroom, and I'd come sneak down the steps, and I would open up his door, and I'd like army crawl across the floor, and he kept his pain medication in his pillowcase because I was doing this crap. And I'd sneak in there and I'd steal a handful of his pills. And I can't imagine I couldn't imagine my son's doing that.
Yeah.
Like,
gosh,
that had to be tough for him thinking back, like now. And again, I've never even looked at it from this perspective, but thinking back, like, man, that had to be a very desperate mind frame that he had to be in. Like, oh my God, my son is like stealing from me. I'd get into his safe. I figured out. I found in his dresser beside his bed. I found his safe combination, and I would steal his checks. And like he'd leave the house, and I'd steal checks out of there and write them. And so the bank called him finally, and was like, you've been writing a lot of checks. I remember I was upstairs, and I remember the bank calling him. And he was on the phone with them, and he was like, "No, I've not been writing these. Here I am writing $200, $300, $400 checks and just draining his savings account." Jeez. And I remember him calling me downstairs, man, and I think any emotion or reaction in that moment is valid, like anger, like rage, almost like disappointment. All those things would have been valid. But he called me in his room, and I was thinking to myself, I want to go ahead and start packing my bags. He's kicking me out. And honestly, thinking back, I wish he would have committed me. I wish he'd done an IVC, involuntary commitment.
What does that mean?
Just like it's against your, like you have no say so. Like a family member comes and they're like, hey, they've got a problem. They'll come pick you up, and you have to go to detox.
Okay.
Or a behavioral health unit, whatever. And so he didn't do that though. He called me downstairs and just tried to love me through it, and he was like, Bang just called. They told me that you've been stealing my checks and taking money out of my account. And I remember saying, I'm just going to pack my bags. And he was like, he's like, son, I don't want you to leave. He's like, I just want you to get help, and I want you to get better. And I remember him sitting in his recliner, man, just when he's telling me this. And I'm like, now thinking back, I'm like, man, like I wish that I would have listened in that moment. And I wish that I could have become this person that people see today in that moment before my dad passed. Again, low bottom. Like I had to keep hitting these freaking bottoms, man. And
what'd you think at the time where you're just like, oh, I just get out of jail free card, I can just keep living here? Or like, what'd you think at the time? Were you like embarrassed that you got caught?
I was embarrassed. Shame. I think shame keeps us prisoner, like this emotion that holds us hostage. Like, and I think there can be some good shame, but I think that whenever it is all consuming and you are just in this prison of disappointment, that's not how change happens. And that's kind of how, like, that was just so hopeless, right? And that's what the shame was leading me to experience, was that hopelessness. Like, there's no way out of this. Like, and I hadn't seen it. I've not seen like recovery modeled for me. I didn't even know, like, I just thought that this was my existence.
Yeah.
I didn't see a different way.
And if you have somebody like your dad enabling it, or, not really saying, I mean, I guess he encouraged you to get help.
It is enabling.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean,
it just reassures that in your brain. That like, oh, well, I guess we're okay then.
Yeah.
That's hard. How old were you when that all went down? Like early 20s?
Mid-20s.
Yeah.
Mid-20s.
Damn.
So he's
so young.
It is, man. Like, and that's why I'm like, it took me a long time to even start getting things right, and to have a healthy perspective and to start healing. And that didn't happen for years, man. And this continued on until the end of his life. And I remember them calling me to the hospital. My mom, I was out in the woods. One of the ways that I was like fueling my habit at the time, I was digging ginseng. And I remember being in the woods and
like the herb,
the herb, the root, ginseng
or root.
Yeah.
That get you high?
No. That's like one of the ways I was fueling my habit. I'd go dig ginseng, sell it, and then go buy my drugs.
I was like, you're getting high off ginseng? Okay. Didn't know you could do that. Okay. So it grows out in the mountains. Okay.
In the mountains, yeah. And so I'm in the woods, and my mom calls me, and she was like, "Get to the hospital now. Your dad's about to pass." So I run out of the woods, fly to the hospital, get up there, and I remember getting to his hospice room, and I'm sitting in the recliner next to his bed, and he can barely speak, man, at this time. He's like 130 pounds, just a shell of the man that he used to be. And the nurse is like asking him, like, man, they gave him 6 months to live, and he's been fighting for 3 years.
Jeez.
And they were like, why are you fighting so hard? And I remember my dad saying, like, voice breaking, can barely speak. And he's like, I want to see my son become the man that I know he could be. And
damn.
Still didn't hit, man. And I remember going to sleep that night beside his bed, and I put my arm around him. And this is probably one of my most powerful memories. But I put my arm around him because I knew I wasn't going to get, be there with my dad much longer. I fell asleep, and for the people that don't know, like, I'm named after my dad. I'm Kallup McCoy II, and so this is my hero. No matter the enabling, no matter the toxic relationship that we had, the using, like, this is still a person I look up to. This is still the man that I'm named after, and the man that protected and provided for me and taught me hard work. And so just watching him just wither away, man, about to pass, like, it was freaking tough. It's so tough. And fell asleep that night, and I woke up the next morning, and he wasn't in his room. And I asked the nurse, I said, "Where's my dad?" And they said, "We had to move him to another hospice room." And she was like, "Did you notice your dad waking up last night?" I was like, "No." And at this point, he hadn't spoken a day or two, like, he was too weak. And she's like, "Yeah, he actually rolled over and held you last night while you were asleep." And so to think of, like, him mustering up the strength in the midst of everything that I was doing, and to put his arms around me, man, and just hug me one more time. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Think about, man.
That's so cool.
And so, like, that day he passed, or excuse me, like, he called me to his hospice room the day before he passed, and he asked everybody to leave, and I stood by his bedside, and he spoke this, like, very prophetic word over, like, who I was going to become. But he was like, "Son, you're going to come out of this one day, and you're going to beat this, and you're going to do some great things for our family, for our community, and for the world." And Jeremy, I was strung out, man, like, so skinny, looked sickly. I had sweat beads dripping down my face, and I was thinking to myself, like, again, despair was consuming me. And when my dad said that, I was thinking to myself, like, no, this, I'm going to die. Like, I'm just an addict, I'm just a junkie. And identity, man, that's how I identified myself. So the next day, people's coming in and out of the room, family members and stuff, and I'm in the bathroom, and I can hear my dad's heart rate monitor beeping, and it flatlines, and I've got a needle in my arm in that moment when my dad leaves this earth. I'm shooting up, and I pull the needle out of my arm. I still got the scars off right here from shooting up all those years, and stick it in my pocket and walk over to my dad and give him a kiss on the forehead. And I immediately called my drug dealer and said, "Hey, I need something. My dad just passed away." And right back to it, bro.
Jeez.
Right back to it.
Man, thank you for opening up, sharing all this. I know it's not hard, or it's not easy to talk about. So thank you, dude, because that's some deep shit, man. That's hard. I think so many people go through tough things, and like we talked about yesterday, like, hard is so relative to every single person, but it's so important to just open up and tell these stories, because I think it makes it more not normalizes, it's not the right word, but like it makes it, like, okay for people to talk about things like this.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, if they need help, get help and share the stories. And, like, I guarantee there's somebody listening to this going through some shit right now, and they hear stuff like this and, like, fuck, I can get, if Kallup got through some of this shit, all this shit, why can't I?
Exactly.
So
And that's my hope, man.
I appreciate you sharing all this stuff, dude, because again, I know it's not an easy thing to do.
I appreciate the opportunity, man, and the platform, that you got right here. It's I think it's going to help some people. And I honestly, I love how it's when people put it, like, my buddy, he's got a podcast called Diary of an Addict, and he said, people with wounds listen to people with scars. That's kind of his I don't know where
I
he
like
got that
that.
quote, but you know, courage, I think, is different than bravery. You know, I think courage is something that comes from a place that's internal, and bravery is something that we do externally. So I think like being vulnerable is showing courage, right? And I think it's really important to be vulnerable, to be courageous, to open up and allow people into your dilemma, into your story, into the things that you've had to overcome, because that really does give other people permission to do the same, you know. And we all go through stuff, man. We're all carrying stuff, and a lot of times the things that we carry are the things that keep us. That's why we're a prisoner to whatever it is that's, you know, that we're struggling with, because we're not meant to keep it in, you know. And so that's one of the reasons that I try to share so openly.
Yeah. I feel like it's I like that quote. It's, what was it?
People with wounds listen to people with scars.
Because I feel like a lot of times when you're, obviously the wound is like, it's active. It's going on right now. It's sometimes like you don't know how to process it in the moment. Like you just don't. If it's something you've never gone through before, you have no clue what to make of it. You're just like trying to get through it. And sometimes it's hard to talk about things and be open with things like that if you're in the middle of it. Whereas with like, you know, the scar, if you've already gone through it, you've been able to process it and get through it. And I think it makes it maybe sometimes easier to talk about from that perspective. But that's why it's important, again, to, you know, people that have gone through stuff to tell stories like this and say like, I was there once too. I got through it, and so can you.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Like you said, I mean, it's perspective. Yeah. Like you know the roadmap. Like, you know how you got through it, you know, and it's like, here you go. This is what I done. You know, it's up to you to, you know, use it or not.
So your low bottom, that was still not low enough. All that.
Still wasn't, man. And I have a September 14th, 2014, my dad passed away.
So it'll be coming up on 10 years this year? Yeah.
Yep. And went right back to it. I remember that leaving the hospital that night, and I went to a party. All things. My dad just died. I started drinking, and I've never told this story on camera. So go to this party, everybody's drinking. Like, I'm not a big drinker. I'm shooting up. That's my thing. Like, I just want to shoot pills or shoot heroin or do meth, whatever. And go to this party, everybody's drinking. And I remember I kicked my shoe off for some reason. And I had my syringe, I had my rig in my shoe. And one of the people at the party was like, "Oh, hell no, you ain't bringing that up in here." And they kicked me out. And I was like, "Can somebody give me a ride? Like, I'm having a terrible day. Like, Dad just died. Yeah. I'm kicked out of the party." And they shut the door on me, man, at this hotel. Oh, and wouldn't let me back in. So I go stab the girl's tires. Oh my God. All 4 tires.
Jesus.
Take my pocket knife out and stab all 4 of her tires. Anyhow, she's forgiven me since then. But that, man, I was just how chaotic my friggin' life was. Yeah. And so
damn,
went straight back to it, man. Straight back to the chaos. And this goes on, but it was to another level now, because I didn't know how to process that. I didn't know how. That's the first time I'd ever, obviously, losing my dad, closest person to me, you know, and I didn't know how to deal with those things. And so the only thing I did know how to do was drugs, right? And to lean back into that and to chase that high and to numb that pain. Only except this time, like, I was so hopeless that I didn't give a crap if I lived, you know. And it was like, can I honestly kill myself, like, by overdose through using drugs? And that's kind of what I started to do, man. Like, I eventually overdosed like 6 different times.
Jeez.
And in November of 2016, I remember loading a syringe with heroin and meth, and it was a lot. It was a lot, and I remember thinking to myself, "This is probably going to kill me," and I wanted that to happen. And I remember sitting in my bathroom again, looking at a syringe, and I was like, oh, "Screw it, hell with it," you know. So I shot up and went into immediate overdose. I had a bunch of people partying at my house at that moment, and everybody leaves except the girl I was dating at the time and a guy that I grew up with. And everybody just, leaves me there. They drag me to the bathroom, drag me to the bathtub, and they're pouring ice water on me. They know how to do CPR, so they're just pouring ice water on me, trying to get me to come back. Call the ambulance. EMT gets there, and one of the EMT workers starts just working on me, man, and just not giving up on me. That's looking back now, like it's so crazy to think about that story. But I'm unresponsive. I had a heartbeat in like a couple minutes. So she calls the ER doctor, and she's like, he's not responding to the Narcan. And the doctor's like, if you have more Narcan, I give it to him. Don't stop working on him. So she does. Finally come to.
So you're like flatlined.
Oh, I was flatlined.
Oh my gosh.
My eyelids were blue. My lips were blue. My ears were blue. Like I was gone, man. Like if she wouldn't have given me that last kid of Narcan, I wouldn't be here today.
That's crazy.
And little did I know, again, one of those God moments, Jeremy, and I was never a person of faith, right? I didn't grow up in that. Like it just wasn't important. Went to church here and there, like on holidays or something, but just seeing, man, like these divine interventions happening. But come to find out, that woman would become my mother-in-law.
Whoa.
That's Caitlin's mom.
Really? The medic.
The medic that saved my life.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I had no idea. Like, so
Cherokee. You said Cherokee was a small town.
It's a small town. So, anyways, that I get up. I wake up from that overdose. Come to run everybody off.
Do you remember like that experience from like the moment you shot up to like being woken up? Like,
yeah.
Do you remember what happened in between?
I do. Like I don't remember them working on me or anything. Like I was out for that, obviously. But I remember shooting up, and I come out of the bathroom. I'm like staggered around, and they said I just dropped to the floor. And I remember waking up, and I was soaking wet, and I was like sitting up against the wall. Because when I woke up, I was like really combative because you go into immediate withdrawal when they give you Narcan. So you're really combative and like ready to fight and everything. So that's how I was. I remember waking up like that. And I was like, everybody get the F out of my house. I don't want help. I'm fine. Y'all need to leave. So I run everybody off and go right back to it. So when
that happens, obviously you have like illegal drugs in the house. Do they like... I mean, you were just dead. Like
everything was here
shortly.
By that time, they'd put everything.
Okay,
out.
So they didn't like. There's cops there, like trying to.
Cops were there. They were like, "You need to listen to the EMT. You need to go to the hospital." And I was like, "I don't need to listen to nobody. Y'all need to get out of my house."
Jeez, man. Because I was gonna say I couldn't imagine if like you were literally dead.
Yeah.
They bring you back and they're like, "Oh, also you OD'd on these drugs. Now we gotta take you to jail." It's
yeah.
like, but that didn't happen.
No.
Okay.
No.
Some good news, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it probably would have been better if they took me to jail. Yeah. They did to protect you.
Oh, okay.
Like, because people won't call to get help if you get arrested.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, that'd definitely deter people. Like,
yeah,
your friend's dying, but you don't want to get in trouble. Like, okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is like November 16. January of 17, or it might have been February. My mom's got the video. February 7th, 2017.
Dude, that's not that long ago.
No.
That's so crazy.
I had done the same thing. Only except this time it was more of like a meth overdose. Like I was overheating, my brain swelling, heart rate won't come down, and a cop intervened. Buddy I played football with, actually. He was a Cherokee police officer. He and I played football together, and he got in the back of the ambulance with me. And I remember him talking to me. He's like, "Kallup, like, what the fuck? I mean, that's what he said to me. He's like, what are you doing, man? And he was crying. Seeing this grown man cry. Special forces guy, just a badass dude. Like, thinking back now, I'm like, man, I was in a bad place for him to be like pleading with me, to try to change, man. And so take me to the hospital. I had warrants, and he actually told me this story recently. Like, we were at a 5K together and we walked, and he was telling me this story. And he was like, you had warrants, and I got in trouble because I didn't take you to jail. But he's like, but you didn't need jail. Like, you needed to go to the hospital, and you needed to get help. Like, jail wasn't going to help you rehabilitate. Yeah. And so he gets in trouble and actually gets reprimanded for like taking me to the hospital and riding in the ambulance with me. And so my mom records the video, and I share this on my Instagram from time to time. But she records a video of me just like what is it called? Meth mites. Like, it's called meth mites. Like, you're picking at your skin and everything. Yeah. So I'm laying in the hospital bed, and I'm overdosing and stuff still, and I'm picking at my skin and everything. My mom takes this video, though, because she thought it was going to be the last time that she'd see me alive. And she wanted to use my story to help somebody else. So this is February 2017. Right after she took that video, I told her, I was like, go get me something to eat. She leaves, go get something to eat. I call the nurse in there, and I'm like, I'm leaving AMA against medical advice. I was like, pull these IVs out. I'm gone. And so I do. Like, I remember leaving the hospital in a gown only, with warrants, on the run, and I'll leave the hospital. I'll run to the nearest gas station, and I call my mom. And I'm like in a hospital gown, hiding behind the counter of the gas station. And the girl I had went to school with and grew up with was the clerk at the gas station. And she was like freaked out, seeing me like this, because we grew up together, rode the same school bus and everything, graduated, and here I am strung out, in the store that she's working at. So I call my mom, and she comes pick me up, takes me back home. And I leave. She was trying to like just help me detox. I remember waking up, man. I fell asleep for a little while. Waking up, stole a bunch of my nieces' and nephews' clothes to go sell. Put them in backpacks and leave. And shortly after that, I finally get arrested. Like, I have all these warrants stacked up. Absconding, not checking in my probation officer. High-speed chases. I'd run from the cops. I was telling you and Matt that story. Getting a high-speed chase in a vehicle, get out on foot, run on foot. So I had the ability to run, obviously.
Yeah. You've always had that going for you.
Yeah, I just didn't know what it was going to take me to where I am today. But
it's a little different when you have a bib on in a race.
But they end up. I was talking to a girl. And I was going to thinking I was going to hook up with her, right? I was going to go meet her, scoop her up, bring her back to my sister's house where I was partying, and she sets me up, and she's got charges. She ended up passing away due to complications from her drug addiction. But anyway, she sets me up, and I remember getting down there. It was so weird. I don't ever really go into the details of this story, but I remember sitting there, and I kept messaging her, and I'm like, where are you at? Like, she kept saying she's going to be there. I'm right there. I'm right there. She never shows up. And then finally she pulls up, and she goes across the road, and there's like these like storage buildings. And I'm like, and I remember messaging her. I was with my aunt, who I made her drive me down there. I said, I'm either still in your car or you're taking me down to meet this girl. And so she's like, she's older, and bless her heart, man. I can't believe I put her through that traumatic experience. But the girl pulls up finally, and I'm like, why are you sitting across the road? And then all of a sudden, like 5 cop cars come out from behind the storage buildings. Jeez. And they surround us, and she pulls off. And I'm like, man, got him.
Dude, that's like out of a movie.
It is, yeah. So they surround the car. They're coming up, got the guns drawn and everything.
Dude, they really wanted to get you.
Oh man, they were listen, they don't like when you run from them and make them look like idiots. So like you got them chasing you all over the place. They really frown upon that stuff. But so come up to the vehicle, and I remember, like I said, it's February. Oh, it's March. It's March. It was like a month after I left the hospital. So I was on the run for another good month. And I remember like them handcuffing me, and I'm looking at the river, and I'm like, man, I think I can make a break for it. And I was going to jump. That's where my mind was at. I'm going to jump in the river and just float until I could get there. Like that's what the tape that was playing through my mind. And I remember the cop, Andy Bryant, who I'm good friends with his brother, but he looks at me, he's like, Kallup, don't even think about it. And so takes me to jail, and the magistrate comes to my holding cell, slides my charges up under the door.
So that wasn't the first time?
No, man, I was in and out of jail numerous times. I don't know, probably 15 times. Probably 10 to 15 times at that time.
Dang. But was this the last?
This is the last time.
The last one.
This is the last time I was incarcerated. So, in that holding cell, get that bond, realize I'm not going anywhere. They put me down into CPOD, Swain County Detention Center in Bryson City, North Carolina. And little did I know that this is going to be where my life would turn around. So a couple weeks into my jail stay, I was waiting. I had some charges in another county for possession of heroin and carrying a concealed firearm. So I was looking at 6 to 17 months state time. And I remember about a couple weeks into my stay, man, I'm starting to journal, just writing down my thoughts. And first time I've ever done that, and which is a very powerful tool, you know what I'm saying? So,
and you have to be sober in jail, right?
Yeah. Well, there's ways that you can get drugs in there. Like one of the things that some of the guys that I was doing time with, they were getting Suboxone.
What is that?
Suboxone is a medication-assisted treatment for opioid addiction, but it actually blocks the opioid receptors and like keeps you from getting high. But if you use Suboxone, like it does kind of give you this high, right? It just helps you gives you a lot of energy. So they were getting Suboxone mailed in, and they're like these little bitty thin strips that you put under your tongue, and they were putting them behind stamps. So people were mailing them letters, and there's Suboxone behind the stamps. So that was happening, but I didn't want it. Like things started to change and shift, right? And in my mind, and I was just like drying out and starting to think a little bit more clearly for the first time in my life. And I was having to come to terms with what my life had become.
How long after getting arrested? Was it jail or prison?
It's jail.
Jail. Okay. Jail. How long did it take for you to start kind of turning over?
So I was arrested around March 16th, and this happened about 3 weeks in. I started really leaning into this journaling thing and writing down my thoughts, and this is when the shift happened, man. But the divine intervention, I started crying out to God, and I remember writing this letter. And you can see, I let Caitlin read these letters recently for the first time. You can see this shift happen in the way that I was speaking. Like I was talking about GD this, F this, just talking about getting out, ripping and running, hitting the streets again, to this moment to where I'm like, God, show me that my dad is still with me somehow. And in that moment, I remember writing that down, and it was just the sequence of events, how it unfolded. It's just so profound. And again, man, just a divine intervention. I remember writing that out, and I lay my pen down, and I walk upstairs to grab something. This jail minister had came in on every Wednesday. That was his schedule. But this is the only time that he broke that tradition. He was on a Friday. And he said that he was at a hospital seeing somebody, and he was just like, I felt like God put it on my heart, I need to come down to the jail. So in that moment that I'm praying this prayer, writing this out, like, he is getting this call or whatever to come down to the jail. And so I lay my pen down, I walk upstairs, and I come back down the steps, and he walks into the jail, walks into my pod, and I remember seeing him for the first time. And just what he was wearing, man, it was like a striking resemblance of my dad. Like, his mustache is trimmed the same way. He's got the same type of eye color. He's got the same flannel shirt. His belt's the same. Like, the pants, his shoes. He wore his watch on the inside of his wrist like my dad used to, and about the same age as my dad. His mustache is trimmed the same. Everything, man. It's just such a striking resemblance. And I remember what I had just prayed, and then he shows up. And so it didn't really hit me, but he came in and just shared the gospel, right? Like everything, and he shared it very simple. Everything that I was carrying was not mine to carry. Like, God would take all that pain, all that trauma, all those mistakes, and if I would surrender and just give that to him and allow him to work in my life, that everything could change. And so, I came to faith, gave my life to Christ in that moment. And I remember the exhilarating feeling of freedom I've never felt in my entire life. Like, I knew everything had changed, and it's like the quote, when a student is ready, the teacher will appear. I was ready, man. I was broken. This is the bottom. Like, there was no way. I couldn't go any lower,
How old were you when all this was happening?
31.
31. Dude.
So I went through a long time, man. I got it wrong for a long time. A lot of mistakes, a lot of bottoms.
I mean, that's 20 years from
first time I really got.
When you were 11, yeah.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. 2 decades, man. And I mean, just like everything, all the pain, all the freaking disappointment, everything I inflicted on other people who loved me, everything I inflicted on myself, man. 2 decades of that. Not being there for my sons, like all the mistakes, man. It's been a lot, And
you're 37 now?
37.
Dude. 6 years ago is not that long ago.
It's not.
That's so crazy. Like, the person that you're now sitting here, I could never, just 6 years ago, it doesn't make sense in my head that, like, that was you 6 years ago. Like,
nobody. It
doesn't make sense.
Anybody I talk to and we share our stories with, they're like, I just can't see you like that.
No, not at all.
So that's kind of how that shift happened for me, that perspective, this healing journey, this journey of recovery that I'm on. It happened in that moment, and before he left the pod that day, though, he shook my hand the same way my dad used to. My dad would place his left hand over ours, and he'd wink at me and say, I love you, son. And this pastor shook my hand the same way, man, and winks at me, says, I love you, son. I'll be back in here to see you next week. And I needed that, man. I needed God to show up in that type of way, or else I probably wouldn't have flinched. I would have kept doing what I was doing.
Have you ever talked to that pastor again? Have you seen him around?
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna get into some more stuff here in a minute, bro. One thing that I'm not afraid to pull the trigger. I'm not afraid of commitment. We'll talk about that in just a second. So anyhow, I'm locked up, do my time in county jail for 6 months. But during that time, Jeremy, like, there was some major shifts happening, spiritually, physically, emotionally. Like, I was really starting to think a little bit more internally, right? And I think that that's so important for people struggling with things, is to like try to look at all those different categories of your life. Like, how are you physically? How are you emotionally, spiritually? The mental aspect of things. And so I was starting to do that, man, like asking these questions and really thinking, just going deep on why I was doing what I was doing, and working through forgiving myself, and making amends with myself, making amends and apologizing to other people that I had hurt. Whether it was like them, obviously I was locked up, but I was writing a lot, and I was talking about how I wanted to change my life and the things that I was going to do. And I read this book around that time, like kind of my routine. And I've always been pretty good at like having a good routine. Like I think it's really, really important, planning out your day, your week, things like that. And I'm always at my best when I have a good ritual. And so that was one of the things that I was working on in there, though. But, I was just reading the scriptures a lot, wisdom. It doesn't really matter where it comes from. Like it can be any faith or stoic wisdom, things like that. But for me, it was like reading the scriptures, and I was doing that every day. I was fasting, like denying my body, my flesh, like twice a week, like really praying and fasting on Wednesdays and Thursdays. I was working out 5 days a week. We started to build like a little bit of a brotherhood within the pod. Ordered this men's health body weight workout guide while we were locked up. And we're doing that together. Lots of burpees. We're getting on the metal bunks and doing rows, doing push-ups. Like we do deck of cards, whatever the card was. It's how many push-ups, how many squats you did, walk a lap. Like we're just doing little things like that. And, around that time, like I just really just thinking about what I wanted my future to look like, when I was going to get out. Like,
what did your sentence end up being? Like how long?
It's 6 months.
Okay.
6 months.
So this is like when you started doing all this, like started exercising and all that. Was that like a couple months in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was, so jail food, like Sundays they'd send a little sausage patty, some pancakes, get some grits. I was ordering fish steaks, putting them in my grits.
Oh my God!
I was not the popular one because Sunday morning, 7:00, and you don't want to smell sardines. But I was like, I got to get my protein in.
Oh my gosh!
But I was learning and leaning into like how to take care of my body, Yeah. But before that happened, though, before I started working out, I went from 130 pounds to 210 in a matter of like 6 weeks.
Damn.
Like I was so malnourished when I got in there because I just been, meth, you stay up 2 weeks at a time. Like you don't sleep,
Jeez.
And you afraid you're going to miss something. Like there's so much cool stuff going on that you got to stay awake for, Like that was the mindset I was in for so long, I remember staying up one time for 13 days straight.
What?
Yeah.
No sleep?
No sleep.
How's that even possible? That's crazy.
It is, man.
I've heard that from people, though.
Yeah, it's insane, bro.
What is, if you're willing to talk about it, like a meth trip, a meth high, like what is that like?
It's very manic. You're all over the place. Like it's like these highs and lows. Like you can't hold a thought. Like your mind's constantly going, Obviously, you have a lot of sleep deprivation. So then you're seeing things that aren't there. I would go outside, be shooting my gun in the middle of the night because I thought people were, outside creeping in the woods. Things like that, man. It's very, very manic.
Yeah. Is heroin the same?
It's more of a down. It's a downer, right? It's it kind of just levels you out. Like you're so numb to everything.
Yeah.
You're so incoherent, especially like if you're doing a lot of it. But most of the time, it's just like you're trying to do just enough so you're not sick. Like unless you had a way, unless you were the plug, you're the one selling it. Like you weren't going to stay super high. It was just like at this point in your addiction, it was like, how can I not be sick?
Just maintain that baseline.
That's it. Like you're not even high anymore, really.
Jeez.
So that was my existence for years and years and years.
How often do you think about this stuff? Like those days, 10, like not 10 years ago, 6 to 10, 15 years ago, however long ago.
We talk about it a lot. I think it's really good to keep perspective. Like and also too, it helps us to have a healthy perspective on things that we have today. Gratitude, like living a life of gratitude. Like anytime we'll go out and we'll have a meal and it's not what we like or what we want, we're like, it beats jail food. So it's like, well, you got to be grateful. Like this is the things that we get to experience now. We never thought that we would, and so it helps us keep a healthy perspective in life. That's cool. One of the good things. Like that's one of the things that my suffering has been sacred to me, because it gives me that sense of gratitude that I probably would have never had before, Gives
you a whole new perspective.
It does.
And I'm sure an appreciation for all these things.
For sure.
Especially, I mean 6 months in jail, like that's, 6 months is a long time to just be fully separated from society.
Mm-hmm. I used to sit in our bunks were upstairs, our common room, and where we eat and everything, and the phones, they were downstairs, the TV and stuff. And we got these little bitty windows, it's like, I don't know, 18 by 6 or something. And the jail's at the top of a hill in Bryson, and you're overlooking the Ingalls. So you could see the Ingalls a couple 100 yards down the hill.
The grocery store?
Yeah.
Dude, I miss Ingalls. I love Ingalls.
But Ingalls sucks. I love Whole Foods.
Yeah.
I'm like a kid in a candy store when I go into Whole Foods, man, because we don't have anything like that, in our community. So
Ingalls isn't too bad. It's like a Safeway type of, Safeway?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But again, perspective. It's better than what I was.
That's true.
But I'd be looking out the windows, and I'd be just watching everybody coming in and out of the grocery store and smiling and laughing and families. And I was just like, I don't want to feel this anymore. I don't want to be where I'm at. When I get out of here and I get to have an opportunity to live that, I want to make the most of it.
Yeah.
And I would look at that every day, man. And the eclipse happened in 2017 when I was locked up. And I remember everybody was talking about it. It was on the news. And I went downstairs. All the guys that I was doing time with, I think I was the only one. I wouldn't watch the eclipse. They were all looking out the window. And I was like, I want to remember what this feeling was like to not be out there and experiencing the things that people get to experience that I take for granted. And so I made myself sit downstairs. The whole jail goes black, right? Because, the eclipse is happening. But I remember sitting down there thinking, I think I was just depriving, like fasting. You're depriving yourself of things that you neglect, that you don't appreciate. Yeah. And so I was doing a lot of that, man. And around this time, though, I read a book called I Forgot to Die by Kallup McCoy, who owns Sun Life Organics in Austin and also Malibu. But I read his story and, just seeing how he overcame homelessness, how he overcame a felony drug conviction. I think he went to jail or prison for a little bit of, a short amount of time, and to see what he's doing today and how he lives his life, gratitude and a life of spirituality and faith and just giving back, and how he's just built this, this empire, it's pretty cool to see. And so I read this book, man, and it made me want to live healthier. And it made me want to make sure that I just did things differently, and it gave me hope. And I think it's really, really important. And one of the scriptures that I love is hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. And so I've been longing for this. I've been longing for purpose and for a new opportunity, a new perspective. And so this was like, it was like I was a newborn baby, Jeremy, like getting to go out and see all the new things and have, looking at life through this new lens, man. It was exciting, and I remember during this time, I would have a court hearing, like a bond hearing, and they'd get put off or a court date would get postponed or whatever. And when I first got in there and that happened, I was so mad. I was like, man, that's BS. I can't believe, I'm ready to get out of here. But again, surrender and acceptance was becoming something that was second nature to me. And I wasn't resisting it. I was leaning into it. And when this would happen at this point to where I'm in this new perspective and I got this new outlook on life, and that would happen, I'd be like, you know what? I'm meant to be here. You know, like the saying goes, like, your addiction's in the parking lot doing push-ups, waiting on you. And so that was like, I got to get stronger. So when I hit those doors and I go out into the real world, I can handle this. You know, I'm not going to make mistakes. I'm not going to backslide and come back into this lifestyle. And so that's the mindset that I had. And so I stayed 6 months. Around that time, though, again, I'm giving y'all all the juice here. I'll share this. I'd start talking to this woman. She was my cousin's hairdresser. I was like, I need a pen pal. She was like, I don't have anybody for you. A couple weeks of me badgering her. She was like, okay. My hairdresser said she would talk to you. You can call her. So start talking to this woman. And we start dating, right? So she's crazier than I am because she's dating the guy that's in jail. Yeah. Got this criminal history and everything, and saying like he's this, you know, newfound believer in Christ, and like, I mean, just this crazy situation, right? And so I was like, I'm changing my life. When I get out of here, I'm going to marry you. She's crazy enough to be like, okay. And so she moves from.
That's not you, is it?
No, it's not okay.
I was like, wait.
I was married before Caitlin.
Okay.
And she moves her two kids from like 15 minutes away, moves them to Cherokee into my house, switches schools, everything. Never met this woman before in person. Only time I ever see her, she came to visit a couple times, but it was all pictures. And now looking back, she was catfishing me, really. She had her phone out and was taking photos from the top. So anyways, like, I get out August 24th, 2017, do my 6 months, right? Mom picks me up. They transferred me from Swain County to Cherokee. I had some charges there, so I had to do like a month in Cherokee. So she picks me up from the jail, and I go to my fiance's hair shop, or go to her shop, right? And she cuts my hair. I remember meeting her for the first time, and I was like, I am not attracted to this woman.
I mean, that upward angle takes off at least like 80 pounds, I think.
Well, right? It's probably more than that for her. But anyway, it's
all about the angles.
All fun and games. So I go up there. She cuts my hair, and I'm thinking to myself, what am I doing? Like, I was like, but then I was like, you know what? You're a changed man, Kallup. You've got to be a man of your word and do what you said you was going to do. And so we go across the street to Jackson County Courthouse, get her marriage license, and go to the church. Pastor Terry Taylor.
Oh, wow.
He's the one that married us. He did try to talk me out of it. He was like, I don't think this is a good idea, but if this is what you want, you know, I'll do it for you. So we get married and move into the house, move back into my old house. And around this time, though, I started watching a bunch of YouTube videos. I see David Goggins, and it was like, you know, what are you doing with your life? You're like, being a slob, blah, 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 this and that. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I need to get out of my comfort zone a little bit. And so I signed up for Ironman 70.3. Mind you.
What year was this?
2017.
Okay.
Mind you, I hadn't done any, like, only type of training I've been doing was like jailhouse workouts. Been in this addiction for however many years. And so I signed up for Ironman 70.3, 8 weeks out of getting out of jail.
Dang.
Only thing that I was doing was riding a bike because I was under the impression I didn't have a license at the time. But anyway, so I'm riding my bike everywhere. Substance abuse treatment classes. That's where me and Caitlin like become friends at that time. Riding them like Bible study, church. I'm riding my bike everywhere. And I tried to run. And I remember getting shin splints so bad after running a half a mile. I was like, you know what? I'll just gut it out. I'll just show up. I didn't do any swimming. I show up to this race. I'm the first one in the water, 1,800 people, Ironman 70.3 beach to battleship. I'm the last guy to get out of the water. Everybody freaking passes me in the swim. And I'm like, I remember being out there in the middle of the ocean swim, and I was like backstroking, got kicking my feet, looking up at the sky. I'm like, how am I going to get through this? But one thing that's always helped me is perspective and thinking to myself, like, everything that I have experienced and overcame in life, like, this is nothing in comparison to those things. So that was the thing I just kept repeating to myself, like, throughout the whole day. And the bike that I used was flat pedals, so I didn't have clip-ins. So I finished that race under 6 hours, which is not a bad time. It's not a bad time from what I heard, after that. And man, just finding that community, working through, just really tough moments, and getting to practice that gratitude of like being where I am today and the things that I get to experience. And like that community was just so special, like seeing people that had similar stories. And so I was like, I found my new I want to keep doing this. Found my new addiction. I just loved the way it made me feel, the confidence, the self-esteem, just the grit that you had to have to finish something like that, especially with basically no training.
Yeah.
And
it was Goggins that
inspired that sign up.
Dang. Dude, that guy, as crazy as he is and as like divisive as he is with a lot of people, some people absolutely love him, some people hate him. Like, you can't deny he's inspired so many people.
He has,
and
man.
that's a net positive, in my opinion.
Yeah,
like that's what got me into running initially.
Was it?
I heard him on Rogan's podcast, and then read his book. I've read his book like 5 times because it's just like, it's so good, and it's just the perspective shift that it gives you, I think, from hearing his crazy story, and it's powerful.
Yeah, I mean he has, man. He's inspired so many people.
Oh yeah.
Whether you like him or not, like the amount of impact that he's had in this world, it's admirable.
Yeah, if it gets people off the couch and like signs up for a 5K, half marathon, an Ironman, 7.3, whatever, it's like I see that only as positive.
Yeah, me too.
I love that. Damn, okay. You started getting addicted to the endurance.
Yeah. At around that same time, man.
Also before we go down this, the solitary. Was that when you were...
That was a different time.
Oh,
that was back there.
Okay.
Yeah. Solitary confinement, 30 days.
Okay. Because we were, on our run yesterday, we were like kind of joking. I jokingly was like, what was worse, 30 days of solitary or running an ultramarathon? Like, clearly the solitary is going to be a hell of a lot worse. But I'm sure that like going through things like that makes doing things like an ultramarathon or a marathon or an Ironman, it just makes those things so much easier because your baseline for what's hard is so much higher because you've done all these like fucking insane things.
Yeah.
Insanely difficult
Good
things.
and bad.
Yeah.
Healthy and unhealthy.
What do you, out of all the stuff you've done, endurance included, or like solitary, 6 months in jail, like losing loved ones, like what do you think is the hardest thing? Can you pin it to one thing, like the absolute hardest thing that you've gone through? It's a big question, but
I think one of the like mentally the hardest thing I've ever gone through was solitary. Getting in a fight, getting thrown in solitary, that freaking sucked, man. Just you're completely cut off from any human interaction. You get to come out twice a week for 15 minutes, so that's like take a shower. But you're in like an 8x5 or 10x5 cell, and you just walk back and forth, or read a book, do push-ups on the sink. Like that's basically all you can do.
No windows.
No windows.
No sense
nothing.
of time.
Nope. You have no idea. You can hit the button and ask the guard, like, "Hey, what time is it? What day is it? Whatever." But yeah, that's it. But that's mentally that's the toughest thing.
Yeah.
I think emotionally, man. Losing my dad, that's definitely the toughest thing. I think anytime you lose a parent or whatever, somebody that's been so important to you your entire life, like navigating that, like that was tough, man. Obviously I didn't do it in a healthy way, but that gave me just data,
Yeah.
experience of like how not to do it, but also too, like that suffering that I went through also taught me so many lessons, that gratitude and keeping things in perspective, reaching out for help, raising your hand and sharing your story, being vulnerable, all those things I never would have learned without like going through that pain and stuff.
Would you do this whole journey over again if you had the chance? Like if somebody came up to you and was like, "Hey, if you want to go back in time 20 years and relive it all, would you do it? Or would you change anything? Or would you, maybe that's two different questions.
Well, I think a lot of times people say, well, I wouldn't ever change a thing. Everything I experienced helped me become the person that I am. But, the things that I did to my dad is just, if I could go back and change that, I would.
Yeah.
Just how I broke his heart, But again, like it helps me to, like I said, have the things that I have, the perspective that I do today. So I don't know, man.
It's a hard question.
It is a hard question.
I don't know if there's a right answer to it.
I don't think there is.
Yeah. And that's maybe the best part about life.
Yeah.
You can only keep moving forward.
That's it.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. Did the Ironman.
Yep.
No training.
No training.
6 hours or under 6 hours.
Yep.
Where do we go from there?
Well, we go through divorce after that.
Probably for the better, it sounds like.
Yeah. Well, it led me to this lovely woman over here, but
wasn't that it was one of the like famous like serial killers. I think it was maybe like Ted Bundy, not relating you to him or any of these guys, but one of them had like why maybe it was Charles Manson, or one of them had like wives. Like all these girls were like obsessed with him while they were in
that's
jail.
Manson.
Yeah.
That's Manson.
He had like all these girlfriends, and I think he might have married one of them or something while he was in prison. I'm like, there's gotta be something off.
Then there's Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. He had a woman.
That's so interesting. Anyways, yeah. I'm not correlating
we
them at all.
We could talk about. I used to be obsessed with serial killers.
I mean, it's so fascinating.
It is fascinating.
People are capable of that.
Yeah.
And the documentaries and all the movies they've done are so good.
Yeah.
Scary, but good. Yeah. Damn. Okay. Divorce.
Yeah. So on the way back from Ironman, I'm making a Facebook Live, and I would tag everybody. I was one of those people. Like I tagged 99 people. And I'm making this Facebook Live, and I'm like shouting out all my friends back home that I was in recovery with. And Caitlin, my wife now, happened to be one of those people that I was shouting out. I was just like thanking everybody for just their support and cheering me on and stuff. And I remember ending that Facebook Live, and my wife at the time, she just like it flipped a switch, man, and she just like went into this rage and started cussing me out and like, why the F are you giving those, like, why are you giving them a shout out? And so we get in this huge fight, and I've got my nieces in the back seat. And she's like, if I had a knife right now, I'd effing stab you.
Whoa.
And I'm like, thinking to myself, what am I getting myself into? So I think about this on the way back home from Wilmington. The girls, the nieces, they were scared. We pull up to my mom's house. I get all my stuff out. We're dropping my nieces off. I get all my stuff out and step out, and I'm like, I'm leaving. Or she asked me, she's like, where are you going? I said, I'm staying here at my mom's. I'm like, I'm done. I'm not going to be in this type of marriage. And I just didn't need it. Like very early on in my recovery, like I didn't need that type of, I don't know, just toxicity,
Yeah.
And so that's it, man. I basically, like, she kept trying to get me to come back home and everything, but I set a boundary, and I was like, no, I'm not happy, and plus this is already toxic, like out the gate. And honestly, I remember in that moment I was thinking about going to use again. And I'm like, if this relationship is making me think of this,
Jeez.
I got to step back. And so split up. This was October 2017 or whatever. And live with my mom for several months until she can find a place and move out of the house. And going to substance abuse treatment classes, going to NA meetings and stuff like that, and church, and just trying to stay involved and spiritually strong and everything was really important to me. And early in 2018, about 3 or 4 months later, Caitlin and I, like, we become close friends. And she was just like a friend that I could call. Like, I was dating other girls around this time, like just going out and hanging out and stuff. And honestly, I think some of my womanizing ways were still there. But I would call Caitlin and I would just tell her, like, hey, I'm going out with so-and-so. And she, like, I don't, she never, like, she's probably wondering, like, why are you telling me this stuff? So anyways, I'm going out with, different girls and stuff. And this goes on for a couple months or whatever. And then Caitlin and I, like, we start getting closer, just talking all the time. She was very outspoken. Like, she was a leader. I always noticed that. And I was drawn to that. I was attracted to that. And we spoke at a recovery rally when I first got out of jail, recovery rally. And I just noticed that about her. I was like, man, that's sexy. That's attractive. And so she's back there red-faced. About, I think it was February, late January, early February of 2018, I invited her to come down just to hang out. And I'd been asking her to come down for a minute now, and she never would. She's like, no, I know you. I'm not freaking coming down there. Like, I know what you're up to. So finally she comes down, and we start talking around that time. And like I said, it was just kind of casual, And the agreement was that we could date other people. We'd hang out, whatever, date other people. So one night I'll go out on a date with somebody else, and she's blowing my phone up, like wondering where I'm at. And I'm like, messaging her. I told her I was on a date. And she was like, all right, that ultimatum, like, I'm giving you an ultimatum now. Like, we're going to talk, or like, it's going to be monogamous, or I'm not in this anymore. And so we started dating around that time and everything. Nice. And I remember going to pick her up for our first date. She was living with her mom. Caitlin's in recovery as well. Got an amazing story. But she's living with her mom because she'd been on house arrest. She got, done some prison time. That was part of her sentence, to be on house arrest. So anyways, I go up to pick her up for a date. I start telling her mom about this story of overdosing. And her mom just, like, starts crying. And she's like, you know who saved your life? And I was like, no. She's like, that was me. So, like, 3 years had gone by, and I start telling her that story. And so
you had no idea who it was until then?
No.
Damn. That's wild.
That is wild.
That's some, like, synchronicity right there.
It is, man.
That's crazy.
It is. Serendipity.
Yeah.
It's things working together, man.
Damn. The universe is weird, man.
It is. So, when I was locked up in jail, though, my introduction to running, reintroduction to running kind of happens around this time. Locked up in jail, and my tribe does something called the Remember the Removal bike ride. And they do it in partnership with Cherokee Nation, which is another band of Cherokees out in Oklahoma. So there's 3 bands of Cherokees, just to educate everybody real quick. You've got the United Kadua Band, Cherokee Nation, and Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. United Kadua Band and Cherokee Nation are located in Oklahoma. Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, who we're enrolled with, is located in Cherokee, North Carolina. So we partner with Cherokee Nation, and back in 2011, they restarted. Like, we started joining this bike ride. Cherokee Nation's done it since the 80s. But it's like it's an honor to get selected to do this bike ride. And they start from New Echota, Georgia, and they ride the northern route of the Trail of Tears. So 1,000 miles on bikes. And, it's just a way to kind of immerse yourself in the struggle that our people went through.
Yeah, if people don't know what Trail of Tears is, tell us.
So it is, the government took the land from the 5 civilized tribes in the southeast. You got the Seminole, Creek, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Cherokee. Took all of our land, relocated us to Indian Territory and Oklahoma. And so this happened in 1837. So this is a way for us to remember and honor our ancestors, right? And like I said, it's a huge honor if you get selected. It's a very drawn out process. And
because they basically when they relocated them, they basically marched them across the country, right?
Marched them, put them in different forts, and held them there. A bunch of people died. Yeah. Thousands and thousands of people died. And just uprooted us, and tried to kill us off. And so took our language, took our culture, said, being Native American, being indigenous was bad. And savages. Oh, I don't have my shirt on. Anyhow, so I see this.
I want to talk about all this stuff later as we get further down. They're like Native American stuff because it's so fascinating. But anyways,
I will try to articulate it best I can.
Okay.
So I see this paper while I'm locked up of the group that gets selected, back in 2017. And I think to myself, when I get out of here, I want to sign up for that. I want to be the first person in recovery to go out and complete that ride, and just to inspire other people and share my story. So I get out and do the Ironman, and then that's my next goal, to sign up for the RTR ride. And I go to sign up, get the application, and start filling it out. And I see that if you have a felony conviction on your record, you can't do it. You're disqualified automatically. Cherokee Nation's the one that set the rules because they're the one that started the ride. I didn't know that, but I go to council, our tribal leadership. It's a closed circuit TV thing that's shown on the tribe or shown on the Kallup boundary when it happens. So I go to this council, and we've got all of our tribal leadership, council members, vice chief, and I'm advocating for this rule change. And they're like, well, we didn't make the rules. We can't do anything about it. And I was standing in front of everybody, in front of my community, on TV. And I was like, well, if you're not going to let me ride the bike, I'll run to Oklahoma. And man, honestly, I don't even know where it came from. I think it's a little ego, whatever. And I was mad too. I was angry because I'm I'm trying to change my life, and they won't give me an opportunity. But it's just God closing that door, man, and just directing my path. I wouldn't have discovered running probably if that hadn't happened. And so that's November 2017. I say that, and I'm like, oh crap. Now I gotta, it's just where the rubber meets the road. It's time to put in the work. And so I start running. So I retire the bike, and I start running everywhere. I've running to town, running to my substance abuse, all the things I got to do. I was running everywhere.
Oh my gosh!
Start training for this, and mind you, I'm a lot heavier than I am now. I was probably 30 pounds heavier then, and
this is 2018.
Yeah, early 2018. I got a gut, some love handles, drinking Red Bulls every 2 or 3 Red Bulls a day. Just I have no idea about taking care of yourself or anything. I'm just so early into this thing, and I start training for this, and I start doing races. I remember doing my first marathon in January of 2018 in prep for this. I ran 5 hours and 25 minutes. Not because I was probably in a lot better shape than that from the Ironman.
Yeah.
But I had no idea about nutrition, bonking, all that stuff. Just crushed me. The distance crushed me.
What's your current PR is 240? So you went from 525 to 240.
With my debut marathon.
Dude. Do you talk? I feel like I don't hear you talk about that.
I don't talk about it
Dude, you
much.
should. Dude, I could see it Instagram posts, side by side.
Yeah.
Marathon 1, marathon...
Seven. Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
I was running basketball shorts and a tri-top, a zip-up top. That's what I went out there in. And then I did a 50K the next month in Davidson, North Carolina. And it was 5-6 mile, 10K loops. And, bro, I was crushed. I remember finished the third loop. I came through and I was like feeling good, you know. Like again, I had no idea what I was doing, but Caitlin was out there with me and come through the third loop, and I was like starting to hit that wall, you know, starting to bonk, and I started gutting it out the fourth and fifth loop. By the fifth loop, I was like, I'm ready to quit. I called my mom and everything, and I was like, my mom was like, don't you quit. She's not even running at the time. She's like 50, 60 pounds heavier than she is now. She's out in blue jeans and like Converse or something, and she's like, I want to walk it with you. So we walked the entire fifth loop. I was dead last. They were putting everything up. Last person to finish overall. And God, I remember being so destroyed from that. You know, they think back for our 50K yesterday, and I'm like,
we're fine.
Yeah, fresh as a daisy today. And
that's crazy.
So I continued to train, man, and May 14th, 2018, a lot of those same council members that scoffed at me, laughed at me, were there to see me off. And I started from Gadua Mound, which is our mother town in Cherokee. Started from there, and I started running towards Fort Payne, Alabama. And that was like the official start point for the Bend route. I wasn't doing the north route. I was wanting to do something different. There's several routes. So I chose the Bend route, and I ran a couple 100 miles, and then ended up driving a little ways to Fort Payne, and then I officially started from there.
Dang. So how many miles total was the whole thing?
I ended up running 800 miles in 40 days.
Jeez.
Yeah. Which is not, I mean, thinking back,
what is that, like 20 miles a day?
Yeah. Thinking back, like, of who I am today and the type of runner I am today, like, but I was so early on into this, and I had no idea what I was doing.
I mean, 20 miles a day, like, that's not easy.
No.
I mean,
just especially for
50 days straight. I mean, and if you're never done anything like that, yeah. Dang. Did you have like a job at that point, or how did you just get like 2 months off to just go?
I wasn't working. I had no work history basically. Like I was basically unemployable. But
did you just like stay in a hotel each night, like wherever you were at, or
we stayed in hotels.
Sleep in a car or something?
Yeah, my mom was very supportive throughout that. Like monetarily, she was helping me do that, and we were raising money for our nonprofit, so money was going to that too. But Caitlin helped out. You know, per cap we get two distributions from our per cap twice a year, like June 1st and December 1st. So I was using that money to kind of fuel.
That doesn't come from the government though, like the U.S. government.
No,
right?
it comes from the tribe.
Okay, where does that money come from? Like
casino.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dang, because it's not technically a reservation, right?
Right.
Because other reservations, they just get like a check from the government, right?
No.
Oh, I thought they did.
Mm-mm.
I thought they get like, it's like some tiny, I thought like $500 or something. They don't get anything from the government.
No.
Oh, I thought they did.
No.
Damn.
But
I thought that was like part of the whole deal with like
reparations.
Yeah, I thought that was part of it.
No.
Jeez.
We send how many billion to Ukraine?
Yeah. Give it all to them.
Yeah, I'm not even going to go into that, but
interesting. So any money that reservations get like that,
it's tribal. It's from their different revenue resources.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was the government that would send them like a tiny bit.
No.
Fucking US.
The government says you can own casinos. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
That's we'll let you do that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Even our land is still technically.
Yeah.
Jeez.
They could just take it away. Really? But anyways,
even though Cherokee's paid for it at one point.
Yeah.
It's not like full. It's like are they like leasing it basically in some way? It's like.
I wish that I knew all the details.
That's so
of this.
weird.
Yeah.
That's so stupid. It's so dumb. Oh
yeah.
My gosh. Have you read Empire of the Summer Moon?
I've got it on my shelf, man. I hear people talk about it all the time.
That's about the Comanches.
Yeah.
Dude. Like Austin was a big like area they were in. Like a lot of like North Texas, like Dallas, a lot in Oklahoma, but they came all the way down to like Austin. I think they were like so nomadic.
Mm-hmm.
They were all the way from like I think Mexico almost to like Wyoming or something. It's crazy.
I need to check it out.
Yeah, Comanches.
I've been meaning to read it, man.
Dude, it's so good.
They're ruthless, weren't they?
Dude, they were like freaking like warriors, basically,
Yeah.
because they were like this small, like really mobile, nomadic, like army, basically.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's a sick book. It's cool, but dude, it's so sad because it talks about all the like treaties that were broken.
No, none of them's been honored.
It was I can't remember the number. It was like 800
Yeah.
treaties that were like promised, like, oh, you guys go do this, and we'll do this in return.
Uh-huh.
The Indians, Native Americans would follow through with their end, and then the government was like, nah, we're good. Nah.
It's like that all across the board.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so sad. But I guess before we go too far down that rabbit hole, so you did Trail of Tears,
Finished on my birthday.
on your birthday.
Yeah.
Was that intentional?
It was.
And then, what other? I know you've done 100 milers.
Mm-hmm.
You did the 240 marathon.
Yep.
What other?
I've done 50 milers. So, like, before we go into that, I want to share a little bit about that Trail of Tears.
Yeah.
So, I was running through Tennessee, and we started getting regional news coverage of my journey.
Oh, nice.
Knoxville, Chattanooga, a couple other places giving us news spots or whatever. And so, a woman who found me on Facebook from Texas messages me and says, "Hey, I want to share something with you." So she ends up calling me through Messenger, and she was like, "I don't know what this means, but I felt like God said I needed to share it with you, so here it is." And so she's like, "I had this vision of you running, and you've got these huge chains across your neck and your shoulders, and I like weighing you down and pulling you back." And she says, "As you're running, as you're taking a step, these chain links are falling off." So I was like, "All right, cool. I don't know. That doesn't mean anything to me in the moment." And so a couple days goes by. My aunt passes away at the time from endocarditis, complications from her drug use. So my mom has to go back and bury my aunt. And that was like one of the first big adversities that I'd faced in early recovery. And like, how do I handle this? And so I like running had given me so much purpose, and I had this goal that I was trying to achieve and this mission that I was trying to accomplish. Like, that helped me stay the course. And so shortly after my mom went home, Caitlin's out there with me as my support crew, and she would drive like 3 miles. I'd run, we'd do that all day. 3 miles, fuel up, hydrate, she'd keep going. So she's out running one day. She's getting ready to start she's just like dipping her toe in the water, her running journey. She's out running one day, and she's like, realizes that I got to get back to the truck. Help's going to be here in a few minutes. So she turns around. At the spot that she's turning around, there's a chain link laying there. So, all right, cool. Coincidence. She keeps it. A few days later goes by. Mom comes back out. I'm running 49 miles in honor of my aunt for every year she lived. We're at like mile 47. It's 10:30 at night. It's late. We stop, pull over, get something to eat, something to drink, and we're going to do our last 2 mile push. And Caitlin like screams and steps back, and I was like, I'm thinking it's a rattlesnake or something, And we look down, and right where we park, man, there's a chain link. Now, mind you, like every day that I'm running, there's no chain links that I'm seeing. It's at these like profound moments that we're experiencing that they show up. So I'm running through. Fast forward another week or so, I'm running through Osage, Arkansas, and I'm listening to Conway Twitty. That's my job. You ever heard that song? Are you a Conway Twitty fan?
I don't know Conway Twitty.
About to turn you on to some Conway.
Is it country or what is it?
He was a rock and roll artist too, but
Okay.
he was he
I've
he
heard
crossed
the name.
Yeah,
I'm
Conway
sure,
was
I'm
the
sure
man.
I've heard some of it.
I'm sure you
Just
have.
didn't know.
I'm sure you have. So anyways, like my dad and I used to listen to this song together all the time. So I'm running up the road, and I look over to the side, and there's a sign that says McCoy's Garage. And I'm like thinking about my dad. Here's McCoy's Garage. I'm like, all right, I'm where I'm supposed to be. So I stop and I take a selfie with McCoy's Garage in the background. And right where I stopped, Jeremy, I look down, and there's a chain link right at my legs. And I'm like, all right, this is just, one of those moments where, like I said, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and God's giving me these signs like, keep going, And so we run into Tahlequah, Oklahoma, finished the Trail of Tears run on June 28th on my birthday, And I had a lot of the council members, leadership from Oklahoma and Cherokee fly out to see me finish this thing. And man, it was an incredible moment, you know. One of the cool things too is like my mom and my grandma all shared the same birthday. Like all of our birthdays are June 28th. Yep.
That's pretty cool.
That is cool. 3 generations on one day.
Dang.
So it was cool to share that moment.
A lot of
with my mom.
synchronicity happening.
It is. So that's kind of how I felt running again, man.
So did you do the chain thing? Did you like get the is it? So the lady was just like envisioning it, right?
Yeah.
She didn't want you to like take a video or photo or anything.
Oh,
I was like, I thought there were gonna be like some epic video of you like running with like chains
No.
around your neck. You should have done that.
I know, right? That'd have been good.
Did you keep all the chains?
We've got 2 of them. At the house.
What do you think they represent? Like why?
I think just breaking out of that old lifestyle, you know, and then just where they were when we seen them. Like you say, you know, synchronicity. Just those moments where I feel like the universe, God, Creator is talking to me, like you're right where you're supposed to be. Keep going. You know.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
I like that. That's cool, dude. God, dude, you got such a wild story. So you've done so many different things.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Oh my gosh. Was your first 100-mile race the next thing after that?
No, I got into some 50 milers. Started getting into ultras first before I like got into marathoning, and started doing some ultra trail marathons. Georgia Jewel. I went to my first attempt at Georgia Jewel. We stayed up all night, or not all night. We stayed up for a fourth quarter type thing for our football team afterwards. And we had a bunch of inflatables and stuff. So we were out all evening or all that late that night putting those things up. And I had to go run the race the next morning. So I got like 2 hours of sleep. Had to drive 3 hours to get down to the race and ended up falling asleep at mile 47 and DNFing in my first attempt at a 50 miler.
Dang. 3 miles from the finish line.
3 miles. It was called Power Lines Aid Station. That's at mile 47. So it was right before there. I was on a ridge top and I fell asleep and I got to Power Lines Aid Station. Oh no! And they're like, "You're 5 minutes late." I missed the cutoff.
That sucks.
I was like, I don't even care. Just put me in a car, get me out of here. I'm ready to go to sleep. Yeah, I was so destroyed. She had to put me in a luggage cart and wheel me to the hotel room.
Oh my gosh!
And so we done Georgia Jewel a couple of times, didn't we? And I went back the next year, finished a 50 miler. COVID happened, and I think we did the calendar club challenge, like whatever date it is, that's how many miles you run.
Yeah,
we did that in May, and I finished that. So ended up running 400 or 500 something miles in the month of May.
Dude, that's
no days off.
When you're just like thinking about that challenge, it doesn't seem that crazy. It's like, oh, you maxed out at 31 miles. That's not bad.
It's not crazy until you get in those mid-20s and
27,
30.
28, 29. I have one crazy idea I want to do someday is do that, but like keep going.
Yeah.
Until you can't anymore. I feel like realistically, you can maybe get to like 50, 60 miles, but it's like you're doing like 49 miles one day and then 50 the next day. I don't know. You'd have to kind of just like quit everything you're doing and just do that. But
basically like the Transcon run.
Pretty much. It's like a full commitment for a couple months. But
yeah.
Dang. Yeah, I've always wanted to do the calendar run one.
Yeah, it was fun.
Dang.
It was fun.
And then
so I got employed around that time. First job I had in recovery, started working at a homeless shelter, which gave me a lot of purpose, and being able to get back and everything was really important. And they took a chance on me, man, and I'm so thankful for that. So started working there in 2018, and we actually biked the Pacific Coast Highway in 2019. Ended up biking like close to 1,000 miles. We drove some, but we biked most of it.
From Mexico up to Canada? Or
Canada to Mexico.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dude, I've driven a lot of it. That's such a sick road.
It is, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And at the end of that journey, I was coming through Malibu, and I remember Khalil.
Oh, yeah.
Khalil's shop being there, Sun Life Organics, and I messaged him on Instagram, shared just a little bit of my story, and told him how his book helped change my life. And he was like, I happened to be at the shop, come by and meet me. So we got to meet Khalil, hang out with him. He gave us a bunch of free bowls and smoothies and everything,
Oh, sick.
which is, it's expensive. So I was
Yeah.
like very thankful for that.
That's awesome.
But it was cool getting to meet him and shake his hand and let him know, like, I read your book in jail like a couple years ago, and here I am meeting you.
Yeah, that
today.
had to have been surreal.
It was cool.
Damn.
That was cool.
Yeah, dude, I mean, you had to have like constantly just been thinking about like through all this, like the Trail of Tears, doing all these marathons, 100-mile races, Ironmans. Like, is that just always in the back of your head of like, dude, I was in jail. I was ODing. I was dead at one point.
Yeah.
Like, how often, like, I think I asked you this earlier, but like, do you think about this stuff frequently?
I do. I try to.
Because it helps, right?
Yeah. I mean, it really does. Like, to, we got a rear view mirror for a reason. We need to look back at it every now and again and just keep that perspective. And, around this same time, too, in 2019 is when I lost my sister. And I just finished a Fontaine Dango 50 miler the day before. So I go to work the next morning, Sunday morning, and my mom called. And it was actually my aunt. My mom was screaming in the background, and I knew what it was, and immediately that my sister had passed.
Did you know she had like an addiction?
Oh yeah. She struggled with a lot of mental health stuff, and that was just one of the ways that she was coping with it, and she was in a toxic relationship too, and so I know that contributed to it as well. But I think just I was honestly most proud of that moment, like during that, because I was in a place to be that rock for my family. Like, I was so thankful that I could be that light, and I could be that strength for them, that was really important. I had that purpose. Like, I needed help. I need to be here for my family and take care of them.
Yeah. Were you pretty close with her?
We were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. That's
I wish we were closer.
Yeah.
But we got to share some moments whenever I was in recovery. Like, she was trying, and she would be in and out. She'd get on medicated assisted treatment. She'd been in detox rehab on numerous occasions, and unfortunately, she lost that battle, man.
Damn.
So
that sucks.
Just another reason, like, those are the things that fuel me. Those are the things that keep me going and motivate me.
It seems like the like drug addiction is just so common in the like Cherokee or reservations, and like, is that right to say that it's like pretty common?
Yeah.
It seems, because it's just like, if you're getting a check every month, do most people have jobs, or do a lot of people just kind of live off of that?
Most people have jobs. There's a lot of people that try to live off of it, but most people have jobs.
Yeah.
Like,
why do you think that it's so like prevalent in these societies?
It's by design. I mean, you think about what we just talked about with the Trail of Tears. I mean, you take people's land, you take people's language, you take their culture, take their entire identity, and what are you left with? And then, like, you give them just enough to live off of, but you take everything that makes them who they are, and they're going to struggle. And I think that we're still seeing all the challenges from those, all those years and everything, the way that the government tried to destroy us. And so that's like, I've talked about identity. I think that's so important for indigenous people, is to reconnect to who they are as an indigenous person, their culture, their language, their ceremonies, their dances, their songs. Obviously I'm not somebody that does that very well, but I'm asking more questions. I'm seeking, and my wife, she's been to language classes, and she's done things with her family. Like, her grandpa's an artist, a storyteller. Her mom's a storyteller. Like, and I see how much purpose and identity and healing that gives them. And so, like, I'm learning from her and from her family.
Yeah. I feel like your story is just like one case of this like bigger problem. It's like, strips the identity away. It's like, it takes your whole purpose away, and you're just lost.
Yeah.
That I mean, I'm sure that's like how it seems like that's how the reservations and the societies are all together. It's just like, it's like, why? I mean, I'm sure to an extent you feel like you just don't belong anywhere, because it's like you don't have like for me, I know my culture is like American or like English or Scottish or wherever my ancestors are from. But like that's because it's taught in school, and so we talk about it all the time. But like if I didn't know any of that, I'd be like, I'd just feel so lost.
Mm-hmm.
If it was, especially if the government was like trying to shut it down and like strip it away from you.
Yeah.
It's so fucked up.
Kill the Indian, save the man.
Dude.
I mean, that was what they thought, you know? That's what
so
they believed.
Crazy. I mean, that whole story of like moving everybody like out west to these like deserted lands where there's no vegetation, there's no, very little like rivers or lakes or anything. You can't grow anything. And like Native Americans weren't really like farmers anyways.
No.
They hunted the buffalo.
Yeah.
And then they came out and fucking shot all the buffalo. Dude, and Empire of the Summer Moon that talks about they would send like people from like DC or somewhere on the East Coast. And they would just send a bunch of people out here to the West, and they would just find these huge buffalo herds. And apparently with buffalo, like when you shoot them, for whatever reason, like they don't scatter. They just like, they don't care that, their buddy next to them just gets shot in the head.
Yeah.
They're like, whatever, I'll just keep eating this grass or whatever. And so they can just like slaughter thousands of them. And that was like people's jobs were literally to move out west to like just slaughter the buffalo and just leave them there.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like, and that wasn't even that long ago, like 100, 150 years ago. That's
yeah,
so
I know,
wild.
man.
It's crazy. But I think sharing these stories like yours, talking about this stuff,
Yeah.
it's so important. Because it like, I didn't learn any of that in school. I had to like go buy a book and read about it on my own.
No, they don't teach that stuff, man.
No.
There's
It's so
many
sad.
conversations I've talked about in there. I've had people like, "What's the Trail of Tears?"
Yeah.
Like, how are we not teaching that?
It's so sad.
It just doesn't. It's a blemish on our government, and
Right.
they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to
Right.
own that.
Yeah, and the fact that what blows my mind is that it wasn't even that long ago. It's like what, like 5 generations maybe? Not that long ago. It's sad, man.
Yeah.
Dude. Okay, so marathons. Got on all the ultras.
Yeah.
First 100-mile race. How did that go?
2021 Georgia Jewel 100. It went good, man. That was September 21, and I didn't listen to any music the entire time, so that was one of the things that I was like really trying to lean into, was just being alone with my thoughts out there, and I ended up finishing that in 31 hours and something. She actually finished the same race. Was that last year? Yeah. She finished it faster than me. 7 minutes faster than I did.
7 minutes.
I had some GI issues pop up around mile 50, and they stayed with me for over a 50K.
Dang.
I was like, I can't remember if I was puking, but I had diarrhea so bad, man.
Ugh.
Everything just running through me, and then just being sleep deprived, like it was just. But I was just like, all right, just keep one foot in front of the other.
Damn.
Left foot, right foot, let's go. Ended up finishing. So I can't remember. Did I get into marathons after 2021? It was right after that. 2022, I ran my first marathon. My second marathon, but like my first one, actually training for it. And
when it starts to get hard, like in a 100-mile race, like you're shitting your pants, your legs hurt, you're tired. Obviously, you got to have something to like get you through that.
Yeah.
Like what? Is there something you tell yourself, or like what do you do to get yourself through things like that?
Man, just keeping it simple. Just like I said, just those little mantras, like just get to the next aid station, left foot, right foot. Just not trying to overwhelm yourself with too much, but like, what can I do right now in this moment? Like body scan, like head to toe. How am I feeling?
Yeah.
How can I kind of alleviate some of this pain right now, or stomach issues? Like what's the next box that I can check? Just keep little simple things like that, keeping those tasks in check, and just working through those things.
I'm curious to hear your perspective on this. There's got to be some correlation to people that have like trauma, or they've gone through addiction, or something really difficult in life, and their ability to be good endurance athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some correlation for sure. Like I know so many other people, like Mitch Ammons lives in Austin, like heroin addict for like 8 years or something. Now he runs like 2:16 in
Yeah.
the marathon, something stupid fast. Like, what do you think that is? Like, why do you think there's such a strong correlation there?
I think our ability to suffer, keep things in a healthy perspective, and then also too, I think that processing the trauma, like that repetitive, that meditative state that we get into when we're training, when we're racing. I think it really just helps us to process some of the things that we've been through, and just kind of lean into that, and that gives us purpose too. So, I don't know, that's my thoughts on it, man. Just like that meditative state, there's just something therapeutic about that.
Yeah.
You know, when you're training, you're getting up, like, you're racing, like you're working through different challenges and adversity and everything. That's what it is for me, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think the ability to suffer seems to be the most common. Like if you've gone through some hard shit, what's a 100-mile race?
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to be anywhere close to some other shit you've been through.
Exactly.
Or a marathon, 2 hours and 40 minutes. Like, dude, that's nothing. That's a walk in the park.
Yeah.
to be uncomfortable for a couple hours.
That perspective, man.
Yeah,
Perspective drives performance.
that's right. I
Inky
like
Johnson.
that. Yeah. Dang, dude. When is this documentary coming out?
It's out.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's not. We're getting it into some film festivals.
Oh, so it's not like online.
It's not online
Okay.
yet.
I was looking for it and I was like,
I got to show it to you. I'll show it to you in a minute.
You showed me the trailer when we met in Orlando
Yeah.
in February. I feel like I've known you for way longer than since February. That's crazy.
So for people that don't know, I see Jeremy in a coffee shop at the Olympic trials
Yeah.
and go up to him and we start chatting, and that's how we're here today, man.
That's crazy.
Over a cup of coffee.
It's a small world, dude.
It is.
It feels like so much longer ago than February, but I guess it was.
We've both been doing so much
Yeah.
since then, man.
So the documentary, A
Yeah.
Runner's High.
Yep.
Dude, the trailer looked sick. I'm like, this is gonna be good.
I think you being a filmmaker, videography, in that the cinematography in that documentary is
Yeah,
on point. It looks really good.
Yeah, it looked like super high quality.
Yeah.
So it's out but not online.
It's out. We're doing private screenings. So I would love to host one here in Austin.
You should.
Yeah. I mean, I got to get plugged in. Maybe you know a spot we can do that.
Let me text Joe Rogan. Just kidding. There are theaters here that do it's like really small theaters that do private showings.
Yeah.
It's probably not that complicated.
Probably, maybe Drew probably hook us up.
He actually probably knows. There's one here. Is it the Rose? Something Rose maybe? I don't know. I'll look
Is that
it
where
up.
they showed Sally's?
I think so. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. But
Okay.
a lot of people do it here.
Maybe we should. Yeah, we'll try to do that.
I mean, the running community is massive here.
Yeah.
You could easily get a bunch of people out. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, it just basically retells a lot of the story that I told today, sharing my journey of running, sharing some of my childhood, running the Trail of Tears, and then I don't want to give too much, but
How long is it?
21 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not long.
When do you plan on it being online for people to watch? Do you know?
So our hope is to get it into Sundance. So that's the director's goal. That's his number one goal. Let's see if we can get it in Sundance. Obviously, we're going to enter it into a lot of other film festivals, but that's the ultimate goal. So we're thinking late fall,
The title
early
is so
spring.
okay. I'm excited to see it. Do you have like a private link you could send me?
I do.
Okay.
I got you.
I might have to do that. Dude, the name of it. I love the name of it's perfect.
Yeah.
A Runner's High.
Maybe we can tie this the trailer into the podcast. or
Ooh.
something.
I mean, I guess we could show the trailer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do that somehow.
Okay.
I like that. Oh, I want to ask you about before we talk about the charity stuff. What's the meaning behind? So like your coaching business is Lion's Den,
Lions.
right? And your Instagram handle is Recovery Lion.
Yeah.
What's the significance of lion?
We were at substance abuse treatment class, and we came out of the class, and there was a lion on the door. It was like a picture of a lion, and I can't remember how Caitlin put it, but she was like, "That's you. You're the lion. You're the recovery lion," and it just like it stuck.
I like that.
I was like, "All right, yeah, I am the recovery lion." And so I named my Instagram handle after that.
I like that. Dude,
Yeah.
I mean, lions are cool. I
Lions
got a
are
lion
cool.
on my vision board over there on the bottom left.
What does that mean to you? Why'd you put a
Um,
line on there?
That lion in particular just looks very stoic and like wise. But I know he's got some viciousness inside of him, you know?
ferocity.
Yeah, veracity, that's the word I was looking
Yeah.
for. Yeah, I don't know. Lions are sick. I like tigers and grizzly bears,
Yeah.
wolves, all kind of for the same reason. Because on the outside, they're like beautiful animals, and they're like so, like I don't know, I guess beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, they're just such a cool part of nature. But on the inside, they're just like ferocious.
Yeah.
I'm like, I like that for some reason. I don't know.
Me too.
Just
Me too.
resonates.
Same thing for me, man. Just strength, wisdom,
Yeah.
ferocity.
But is that like your spirit animal? A lion?
I guess it would be, yeah.
Yeah.
That and then maybe a cheetah
Cheetah.
some days.
I mean, you're a 240 marathoner.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like a jackass too, so I might be.
Where did you run the 240 at?
Boston.
You've ran a couple 240s,
240.
right?
I ran 240, 47, and 240, 24. I'm breaking out of that this fall, man. It's 237. That's the goal this fall.
Damn, what pace is that?
237 be 6 minutes flat.
That's fast.
Yeah.
That is.
I want to break that 6 minute flat for a
Dude.
marathon. Like a 5:59, that would be awesome.
Oh my gosh, dude. That is not jogging. That's sprinting.
Yeah.
For 26
Oh, you're
miles.
moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're scooting, man.
Damn. The first 240 was in Boston?
No, first 240 was at Indy.
Oh, okay.
2022.
And then Boston was the second one.
Boston was 2023. Yep.
And you just did Boston
The second time.
this time too.
2024. Ran 247. But that was like I say, I was pretty trashed after Asheville.
Yeah.
And now looking back, if I would have done something differently, I probably would have rode the bike more instead of running right after Asheville, just to kind of let the legs recover. You know, I just felt like my legs were just really beat up,
Yeah.
man.
Do you feel any of the effects from, I mean, like you said, you stayed up for 13 days at one point, and like the drugs and like the malnourishment and jail food, shit like that. Like, do you ever, I mean, I guess I don't know if you'd be able to know otherwise, but
Mhm.
do you feel like that took any toll? It had to have, right?
I would imagine so. I mean, I've not noticed anything. I've not noticed it affected me in any way other than just having scars all over me.
Yeah. And I guess you wouldn't know what it would feel like to not have that experience.
Mm-mm.
Like your baseline. It's
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I'd imagine it has some effect. But, I mean, anybody listening, or even for myself, it's like, go through all that shit.
Yeah. Our bodies are amazing things,
Yeah.
man. They can heal themselves, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you would not even think, like we said earlier in the podcast, that I would have went through the things that I went through just by looking at me now.
Yeah. It's our bodies are insane. How they can recover and heal and get
Yeah.
back to basically normal.
Yeah.
A lot of times. Sometimes there's things you can't replace or
Right.
heal, but yeah, dang. And then, dude, the last thing I want to chat about is your shirt,
Yeah.
the RezHOPE. Tell us about this.
So this is our nonprofit organization is called RezHOPE Recovery and Consulting, and our focus is to help people struggling with mental health issues and substance use disorder. And the Gadoogie House is our men's recovery home that we just opened up. We're in the hiring process right now, and then we'll be taking residents here soon, participants. And the Gadoogie, our community back in the old days, my wife's like, get it right. Back in the old days, if somebody was in need or somebody needed help, they would put out what is called a Gadoogie call. And so it's just a call to the community to help this person, this individual, without judgment or hesitation. And so we just come together and help that person. And so that's what we're trying to do with our men's recovery home, and the pillars that we're going to be focusing on to help restore men back to healing and recovery is faith, fitness, nutrition. We're going to make sure that they get in some therapy, different classes, like, different things like that for their emotional health, and service work. And so we're going to be building, hopefully we'll be building a multi-purpose room. It's going to have a gym, sauna, plunge,
Nice.
on-site gym, getting them into different workout programs. We're using a curriculum called Addict to Athlete. And so it's basically like you come in, you do a workout together as a group, as a community, and then you have a meeting after and you just talk about different topics around recovery. And so you're getting in there, man. You're working towards the goal. You're sweating. You're building these relationships through adversity, which I think is really, really important. What I've learned over the past several years, through fitness and everything. And so I mean, it's going to be a great opportunity, man, to give back. And I remember thinking back when I was in jail, like one of the things that we believe as Cherokee is like, how are you affecting the next 7 generations? You don't just think about yourself and the here and now, but like how are my decisions and the things that I'm doing going to affect those that's coming behind me? And so that's like one of the things that I was thinking about. I didn't have the words I didn't know how to articulate it back then, but I was just like, I'd been consuming and taking and inflicting pain and disappointment and everything on so many people, but like, how can I give back? And so that's how RezHOPE was born, and that's how the Kadoogie House is here today.
Dude, that's awesome. I love that. So it's like functioning. It's like operating right now, right?
Yeah, my wife's the executive director, and we're getting ready to hire the rest of our employees. Peer support, people that's in recovery are going to be working there at the house, and
Nice.
we're going to have spots for 8 men.
That's awesome. And they're all going to be Cherokee?
No, it's they're going to get first preference enrolled members, but also we're going to be opening it up to non-enrolled members too.
Oh, nice.
So, just people from outside the community, or maybe it's somebody from a different Indian reservation or something.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think I remember you saying at one point, maybe it's optional, but like they got to commit to like a 5K or a half marathon or some kind of like event or something, right?
I wanted them to. I don't know if we're going to be able to make them do that,
Yeah.
but we definitely want them to sign up for something and to find whatever form of movement and exercise that it is for them that works for them. It could be yoga, it could be hiking, it could, be a number of things, but it would be cool to see them commit to something, see it through. I think it's just really important, to build that confidence, self-esteem, things like that.
Yeah. We talked about that a lot on the run yesterday, like how important it is to just be physically active every week, every day if you can.
Yeah.
Just get out, sweat, do something hard, something that's uncomfortable. You got to push through it because it builds so much confidence. And I think it can become your identity too. Like if people feel lost, it's I'd say now for myself, you might relate, is like a huge part of my identity is like running and fitness and like being healthy. That's a part of who I am. And I think some people, they just don't have that thing. So that could, potentially be that thing for them.
Yeah,
That's cool.
It's important, It's like whenever you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious, you put yourself in the way of nature, and just getting outside, moving your body. It's really important. It's meditative. It's healing. So that's one of the things that we're definitely going to be focused on.
Is there a way for people to support the nonprofit?
Yeah.
How do they do that?
We can. I can share a link. We can link it to the show notes and everything.
Yeah.
And then also too, we have Instagram page. So, what is the name of the Instagram? She just made it. The official RezHOPE.
Heck yeah. We'll put the links.
We can link it. Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure people go check it out.
Yeah.
So they can like donate if they want. Like
they can donate.
heck
Yeah.
It's all nonprofit.
It's nonprofit. We got operational needs, supplies for the house, things like that.
Nice.
So, and we'll be sharing stories from the men's growth, progress, things like that. And so it'd be a good way to give back if this is something that your heart's in.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. Are you gonna do any like fundraisers yourself to try and raise some money for it?
Good question, Jeremy. You're on it, man. Yeah. So we're gonna be doing a gala here soon, sometime hopefully this fall, and we'll be showing the documentary at the gala.
Nice.
And we doing some silent auction type stuff, things like that.
That's out. That's in Cherokee.
That'd be in Cherokee. And then would love to have you and Bree come to it if you'd like.
Dude, heck yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be doing a gala, just different types of fundraisers within the community. Also, I'm going to be running across the country next year, Transcon run, and I'll be raising money for a nonprofit for that.
Heck yeah. Dude, Transcon.
Transcon.
I mean, you already did. I mean, the Trail of Tears probably
went out that way.
Yeah.
Went out west. So now it's time to start west to come back east.
So you'll start like LA?
Probably San Fran.
Okay, San Fran and go to New York?
Go to Wilmington.
Wilmington, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Dude, Wilmington's sick.
Wilmington is sick. And I was planning on including the Junaluska route. So during the Trail of Tears,
yeah.
Chief Junaluska gathered a group of people when they got to Oklahoma and brought them back to Robbinsville, North Carolina. So that's a route that's not ever been done, biking or running. And so I want to include that to kind of make it a little bit unique. Because I mean, Transcon, there's been over 400 people do them.
Yeah.
But I want to make it unique and include something that's important to me as a Cherokee person, as a Cherokee man.
Yeah. We were talking about that the other day of like so many people have done Transcons now. Like it's still obviously an insane feat.
Yeah.
But it's getting to be like a 100-mile race or like a 200-mile race. There, it's like you got to do something unique to make it stand out. Because I think this year like 5 people are doing it, but it's still like not very many.
No, that's not. But
and it's still insane. But how do you make it something special?
Yeah.
Like give some cause to it or add like a specific part of the route or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And just being able to kind of bring awareness to Indigenous runners, which is something that I'm really wanting to focus on with Brooks this year, is like amplifying Indigenous voices in the running space. So I think it'd be a good way to kind of do that as well.
Has there been any Indigenous or Native Americans that have done a Transcon?
Andy Payne. He won the Transcon race back in 1920. It was right after the Depression.
Oh,
it's like
really?
1928 or 29. He was
They had a race? Whoa.
He was Cherokee Nation. So
That's
I'd be the
awesome.
second Cherokee man to do it, which
That's
would
cool.
be pretty cool.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Dang, dude. Okay, last question.
Well, you keep rolling, man.
I think we're at like almost 3 hours. What did I say? 240 or something. If anybody is like going through some shit right now, whether it's addiction or they lost a family member or a loved one or some other thing that's just like hard, what advice would you have for them?
Yeah, I think inviting other people into your struggle is really important. It's one of the most profound and important things that you can do. Like not trying to navigate things like that alone is something that I had to learn the hard way. And I think it's, how we were created. We were meant to be in community with one another. And so not thinking to yourself, like, I don't want to be a burden to somebody, because you're not. Like, I'm sure that there's somebody out there that you can reach out to help you along this journey, help you along whatever this adversity is that you're facing. So reaching out, asking for help is so imperative, and surrender, like not trying to, like I say, just not trying to navigate all this stuff by yourself, I think it's really important.
I love that. Dude, let's end it right there.
Okay.
That's money.
All right.
Anything else that you can think of that we didn't talk about that you wanted to?
Man, I was ready to roll. Whatever you want to ask, man. What do you think? What do you think the listeners are?
Dude, I mean, I think we gave them a ton of stuff. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I'm just glad you came on, shared your story. I think people can resonate with stories like this because it's so real and raw and like so relatable in so many ways. So I just appreciate you coming on, sharing with us, being vulnerable.
Thanks, man.
Opening up. And I think it's going to impact a lot of people. I'm excited for it.
Can I read a quote before I get off?
Dude, of course.
Okay. Just kind of piggyback off that question that you just asked. Peace starts with suffering. Freedom starts with confinement. Courage starts with fear. Strength starts with surrender. Every mountain starts from beneath the earth, and you too shall rise.
Oh, I like that. What does that mean to you?
I think that everything that we experience negatively can end up propelling us to a greater version of ourselves. And one of the things that I talk about, and I've used it a couple of times in our conversation today, is our suffering is sacred. And so those negative experiences, adversity, challenges, all the things that we face, man, if we channel all those things in the right way, it can lead us to a deeper sense of gratitude and purpose and joy in our lives.
Heck yeah. It's that perspective. Everything's perspective.
It is.
It's no matter what hand you're dealt or wherever you're at, it's just two different people can look at it and have two totally different experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So
freedom starts with confinement.
That's
that
right.
stood out to me, man. Like if I wasn't confined and where I was at, I wouldn't be free today.
Yeah. Damn. I love that, dude. Where can people connect with you and reach out if they have any questions or just want to chat with you?
Instagram is my main source of social media. So _recovery line, LION 86. So you can find me there, or Facebook, Kallup McCoy II, KALLUP.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. I'll put all the links and everything down in
Yeah.
the description if they want to click on it.
Okay.
Dude, thank you, man. This is fun.
I appreciate it, Jeremy. We have to do it again, man.
Yeah,
we
dude.
can talk X's and O's next time.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we'll go into the whole thing. We got to save it for part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do another one.
Okay.
You want to go run 50K?
Let's do it.
No, I got to take the day off. I'm tired. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a review, and share it with a friend. We'll see you in the next one.